Hello, and welcome to Superpower Broadcasting. I'm your host, Kevin Castley. This one's a big one. Now, we did the Hippy Dippy show again. As as CTV would say, we got a little bit hippie and a little bit dippy. But the reason we're here tonight, we're here to react to that. It's also a big deal because this is the 1000th upload to YouTube in this channel's a little more than 2-year history. So that's kind of a big deal right there, the first 1,000 videos. And you might be saying, well, you don't even have 1,000 subs yet. Yeah, that's because I tell the truth. And I'm not a clout chaser, as Hawes would accuse me. He basically would say, you don't chase clout. That's correct. I don't chase clout. Clout will sometimes chase me. And the longer we go on, the more clout will chase me. I'm too busy to chase clout. So, but we're at 1,000. And look, I'm a hawk. I kept it real 100% of the time. Said before, could have had 10,000 subs or around there if I had gone the commie grift, if I had been Comrade Grifter, but that's not what any of you guys signed up for. And I would take you guys over all of Kyle's 800,000, 900,000, whatever the fuck simps. So absolutely. And we're just getting started out. This is the first 4% of the channel. So think about that, right? What does that mean? 25,000 videos, except not, because by the time we're done with it, most of the videos are going to be released in the last 15 years anyway, because we'll be doing it full time. So not even close, probably closer to 100,000 views or videos by the time we're done with this. We got a lot of hawk pills to drop. So, and speaking of hawk pills, we were joined tonight with Spooky Nukies. So thanks for coming on. How's it going?
It's going good, man. It was, yeah, I just noticed that because, I was looking up your channel. I like to see how many subs you'll get as you're being promoted on these shows or afterward. And I noticed like, 999 videos.
Platforming. We can't platform hawks, war hawks. Spooky.
We probably should address that because I don't think it's been discussed.
He addressed it. He literally addressed it on stream the other day with Rob Noor that he's been getting complaints from people for platforming me. So they're spooked, dude. They can't handle my arguments. So they're like, no, you can't platform him. Except here's the thing. 2 angles to this. One, Dylan Burns actually is interested in having diverse political panels. And 2, if he weren't, I'm doing this for 50 years. I'm literally, as long as the patron gang pays me $100 or more, I'm at 2 videos a day. And once we're at 500, we'll be at 3 videos a day. So like, no matter what, I'm not going anywhere anyway. So you're better off debating me and coming to terms with my existence rather than, oh, if we just stick our head in the sand and pretend he doesn't exist, maybe he'll forget that we exist. Yeah, look at how that worked out with the Taliban, right? Look what happened. So that doesn't work. You actually have to engage with your opponents. So there we go.
Amazingly enough. And that would be a shame. Clearly that's not going to happen based on them inviting you to come on today.
For sure. To Zal's point as well, we got Zeus here. He says, I missed the Dylan show. Didn't know you were going to be on it. I didn't know I was going to be on it until yesterday. Now, in fairness, they invited me 2 days ago, but I am a Twitter boomer and forgot to log into Discord for like 20 hours and missed the invite there. So they reached out to me over on Twitter because I think they realized they're like, oh, shit, Kevin's a boomer. That's right. We got to go to Twitter. So, yeah, I know.
Well, it worked out either way. So now that worked out, and we have a lot to say about that. But I will say right off the top, because we didn't know, but 1,000 videos, that's a really important milestone in a lot of ways, and I'm very happy with that. I'm very happy to have contributed in any way. I'm still a fanboy. I'm still a fanboy. And
you're like the guys that called me last night. Okay, you're the fan club.
I don't know if I'm that much. I don't think I'm that much of a fanboy.
No,
but, you know,
when was the last time you called me at 3 a.m?
It's been a while, man.
I don't think you care, man. I don't think you care about me.
Yeah, you know, I'm kind of a shitty fair weather fan. I don't know what to tell you.
You're not a true fan. Not a true fan. Gotta step it up.
I will say that because obviously, you know, back in the day, a few years at this point. I found Kevin because Kevin had been commenting on some of my videos. Otherwise, you know, I probably would have found out about Kevin at some point. But that was That was how it happened. That's how we got into contact. And I'm usually curious if I see people comment or subscribe to me who have channels. I'll usually, I'll try to make a point to check out their content. And so I checked out his videos. I was notably impressed that there was somebody else speaking the truth, somebody else who had the cojones to address these issues of our time, when it seemed like nobody else really wanted to step up. And anytime they talked about foreign policy, but all their takes were terrible. So there really needed to be some equilibrium brought to the platform. So I reached out to Kevin, invited him onto a stream, and it's history. It's history made from there, as they say. So I'm very happy to have seen this channel grow, especially in the last couple months. I think it's grown significantly, and it's all uphill from here, as far as I'm concerned. You're probably going to get pushed over 800 or close to from that podcast appearance, which I think was excellent. I was saying in our private messages, I think that was your single best performance all around. Anytime going on the Hippy Dippy show. Obviously, you had moments throughout. But
didn't you say that last time? Didn't you say that last time, or was that the time before? I forget. We've done this, I think, 4 times now.
I may say the same thing every time. Kind of like how I always say this episode of the podcast is the absolute worst.
It's the worst Kyle video we've ever reacted to. That's right.
So, but maybe that's just because that's the episode, or that's the video I happen to be watching at the moment. But I truly stand by that this time. I think this was the time when you really got in there and dominated the conversation. You made it so they couldn't just ignore you. Even though you were in the corner of the screen, they couldn't ignore you. They all had to talk about you, and that's how you do it. That's absolutely how you do it, and you make yourself known. I was looking at the topics beforehand, and I was kind of like, well, is this really going to be that interesting? It actually turned out to be way more interesting than I'd previously assumed. So no, it was entertaining, aggravating at points, and we'll get into all that. But just again, a very, very hearty congratulations on 1,000 uploads, 1,000 subscribers, right around the corner. I'd say by the end of the year, it's pretty much in the bag, and it only goes up from there. And once again, I am honored to have been included at all as a contributor on any of the past streams. I very much enjoy the podcast we did together, Ghoul Gang Rising, which we're doing tomorrow. People, make sure to tune in.
Make sure to
11 p.m. Pacific time.
Make sure to tune in 100%. It's going to be a good one.
I'm still a fanboy.
We're going to have a special guest. We're going to have Prometheus is God there. And you might recall, the OG fans of this channel will remember, he was, I believe, the second person I ever interviewed for my interview series, Hawk Talk with Kevin Castley. And we got Hawk pilled a couple years ago. So that was pretty base. So
yeah, no, I've had Prometheus, just kind of as a mutual around for years at this point. So he's a cool guy. Definitely more active on Twitter these days. But again, I have a short list of guests I want to come on. I'm trying to get to most of them before episode 50. And but at the same time, spacing them out enough so we're not just overwhelmed with greatness. But no, it's going to be good. So we'll have Prometheus as God there, and we appreciate all the support on that show as well. But I can't get over, obviously I come on these streams all the time. I can't overstate it. I am a fan, though. I'm a fanboy. I'm a contributor to Kevin's Patreon because I'm a fan. I'm Kevin's friend, but don't get it twisted. I'm Kevin's fan at the end of the day.
Yeah, but you're not a true fan like Adam, who called me, I believe, about 25 times in the last week or so. So when are you going to start stalking me, man? Like a real fan, man.
I'll try my best. No
you
promises.
Haven't even hacked Facebook photos from me yet, man. Are you truly a fan at that point?
You're making some good points. I don't really have much of a reputation.
You haven't even doxed me yet. You're not a true fan, man.
Look, look, 2022, we're going to shake things up.
Yeah, we're going to step it up. You think I'm in the
I'm going to be, I'm a low tier fan in 2021, man.
Yeah. You think I'm on the doxed box right now? You ain't seen doxed yet. Reese is going to dox the hell out of me like a true fan. Like the fan club would. He's going to make the fan club envious. They're going to become fans of him and be like, you are a true fan. You dox Kevin Bigley. We're in awe of you, man.
I'm going to be the president of the fan club. Don't doubt it. Okay.
And the prime minister, just like the what was it?
The general in chief.
The general in chief. That's right. Or the UK president. That's right. So that's a meme. I forget who did that meme.
President Tony Blair.
Yes. I forget who did that meme. Some brainlet did that meme. Anyway,
we can't remember. Okay, here's the last point. Here's the last point about this. I don't just throw my endorsement behind anyone. And I want people to understand the gravity of that. I threw my endorsement and support, for these, last couple of years behind Kevin, because I truly believe that he was the one to pick up the mantle. And it meant a lot to me that there were other people coming out on the platform creating content in favor of Enlightenment values, in favor of Western hegemony. And that still means a lot to me. And, there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of speculation that I don't care about the movement. That's simply untrue. This movement, above all,
bro, we are the movement at this point. We're the spearheads of the movement.
We are the movement.
Everybody in the movement that's still in the movement comes here to hang out with us and get lit in the chat.
And I truly believe that the future of the movement is over here on this channel. It has a long history, a long life ahead of it. And let's flip and go, man. Let's flip and go, because we have a lot to address in one of the more interesting episodes of the Hippy Dippy podcast in a while.
Let us flipping proceed. Let's do this.
Oh yes.
Let's go. Let's flip and go. Let's flip and go. So there was a lot to go over there. I will start by saying, however, I'm actually drinking tonight. I'm drinking Australian wine, and you should be too, because fuck communist China and fuck the Chinese Communist Party. So
we can get into that too.
Oh, but it's not real Cold War. It's not real Cold War, bro.
Yeah,
no, it's not real Cold War. It's only a real Cold War when they actually do nuke Japan. Then it's a real Cold War. Threatening to nuke them, not a Cold War. But then wait, if nukes are a Cold War, what's a hot war? Because the Cold War is about 300 million degrees at that point, about 300 million degrees roughly, right? So
I think a real war would involve Jewish space lasers.
That's right. That's the Jewish space lasers beat nukes. It's like rock, paper, scissors. It's like Cold War nukes, Jewish space laser. Oh, I screwed it up. Cold Warm, as Rand dumber than Ron Paul would say. See, even Ron Paul wouldn't say Cold Warm. So, anyway,
let's
get into it. We're going to take this.
Anti-China rhetoric did not go over well with the panel tonight. They were properly spooked.
No. But this is what's so funny to me is that Vosh and all these guys will always make the point that they regard what I call communist China, which is ideologically communist, though I've said, as I said to Jay last night, yeah, they employ fascistic means, but by that definition, Hitler employed communistic means. It's like, okay, whatever, but understand something. These guys, the market socialists, libertarian socialists, they don't like China very much. Vosh is not really a particularly big fan of Stalin or China. But whenever you suggest doing anything about them, no, that's imperialism. It's like, okay, but you guys sound like the tankies now. Like, they should be against it as much as me if they're truly as for democracy as I am. So,
spoiler, they're not.
Yeah. They're not. Workplace democracy, all those kinds of memes, not real democracy. And I got news just for everybody out there who thinks, well, I want to sit home and play video games, so I'll support the revolution. I got news, comrade. You got to be at the factory from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. to build the tanks of the great leaders. So have fun with your revolution. no more video games under communism. So, yeah,
video games.
Video games. So we're going to get into this. We're actually going to react to the Hippy Dippy stream, and we're going to go through it segment by segment. And I had a Rick Perry moment when I was putting in the hashtags tonight. I'm like, hashtag infrastructure, hashtag Gavin Newsom. I was like, oh shit, what's the other one? And I forgot, but I'm like, I had to rush to get it out. I forget the third topic. What was the third topic? Oh, defund the police. Defund the police. Okay. We're gonna go defund the police. We're gonna go Gavin Newsom, and we're gonna do the third one. The other one. I'm having another Rick Perry moment. We need to permanently have that saved. Where Ron Paul is just like, no, you need five, and Rick Perry can't even remember 3. That was classic. I'm like, what I loved about that was how Ron Paul could have just let Rick Perry fumble and mumble, but he's like, he tries to offer him. He's like, no, you need these. And Rick Perry was offered because Ron Paul said to Rick Perry, he's like, no, you need 5. You need to get rid of energy as well, or something. Like, he offered one to Rick Perry. And Rick Perry could have said, yeah, thanks, Ron, for reminding me. You know what Rick Perry said? No, it wasn't that one. And then the journalist that's conducting the debate says, wait, so then what was it? He's like, I don't know. Oops. And the journalist just, seriously? So if he just took what Ron Paul offered him, it wouldn't have been anywhere near as much of a gaffe or a clown show. I mean, look, Ron Paul is a disaster. He's a fucking mess. He's way worse than Rick Perry on foreign policy. But he did try to help out his opponent, so I guess he deserves some credit for being a nice guy in that instance. But Rick Perry was such a dummy, he didn't know to go for it. That's never not going to be funny to me. So, because people talk about it as if the big issue was that he forgot the third one. That's half of the issue. He could have been fine if he just went with whatever Ron Paul said. I'm sure he could have just adjusted his website afterwards. No, he had to say, no, that wasn't it. And then that's when everybody's like, wait, then what is it? And then that's where we get the clip from. Oops.
He could have, if he was going to readjust his website, he should have employed famous website designer Rob Carbone.
That's right. And we actually have star-studded chat tonight. We actually have Charlie Kulinski here in the chat right now. So I know, right? Anyway, let's get into it. Hippy Dippy. This is like the 4th one. We did this again. That's kind of cool. That was a lot of fun. There's 4 of them. Yeah, like I think we did the last one a few weeks ago. That one was cool too. I didn't even expect that he would invite me on for this one, because it was going to be infrastructure. Like, I didn't know until pretty soon when I got the invite. I was like, oh, are we going to be talking Afghanistan? I figured that's why Dylan wanted me on, because if they're talking Afghanistan, I mean, he wants views and he wants people talking. You know, that'll happen if I'm on there. But now we're talking infrastructure, defund the police, and Gavin Newsom. So I was surprised. These aren't topics that I really talk about. Now, I've talked a little bit about defund the police, but Henry talks way more about that stuff than I do. So, but he reached out to me, and I'm down to talk about that stuff. I got to be real. I was surprised at how much actual agreement there was on that. I was expecting a little bit more defund the police rhetoric from the other side. They really kind of dodged away from it, you know? So I found. So what do you make of that? Do you think that was their true position? Or do you think that they would be more supportive of cutting police spending as well? Because they kind of dodged to talk more about social work, but it's like, it's not add a service to the police, it's defund the police is the move. So
well, on that, I was actually surprised at the ordering. First off, I really thought that would be the last topic. Like, because it always feels like the last topic that usually rounds out the night is the most controversial, the most juicy, and I felt like that would be the one, and that's how it started. For that, no, I don't think that was really all of their true position. I think that a lot of what they were doing, a lot of the like market socialists, they were trying to moderate slogans like all cops are bastards and defund the police, trying to make them, way more appealing to, reasonable people who weren't, basically, if you were expected to not preach to the choir, if you actually had to win over new people, and that is what it felt like, and that is a problem. And they were saying things like, even some of them who were, ostensibly disagreeing with some of the rhetoric, like, oh, they fund the police, and they say, no, actually, I want more funding for X, Y, and Z. They're saying, okay, let's focus on policy. I agree in theory. The problem with that, though, is that you have to deal with the rhetoric. You have to deal with the actual slogan that is going to popularize the movement. You could say we have a movement called defund the police, and it doesn't actually defund the police. It reforms the police. But what it's doing, when you have a movement like that and you legitimize it, even if it was putting reforms in place that I would agree with, let's just say, for the sake of argument, I think it still elevates and legitimizes a lot of anti-police rhetoric and bias in the general population. You can't brush past that. You absolutely can't brush past that. And this is such a gaslight on such a scale when they're trying to tell us, oh, yeah, we say all cops are bastards, but there's actually some good cops, but we're really just talking about the system, and the good cops can't do anything based on these anecdotal cherry-picked examples that are somehow representative of the entire justice system in the United States. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. If people want to discuss individual cases, I'm down. I really am down. If you want to talk about Chauvin, why? I don't know. It's been a year, but okay, we could talk about Chauvin. That's at least one thing where we know the details of what happened, and you could potentially have a productive conversation about that. But these generalizations that they are constantly going for, I just don't think are useful. I don't think they're productive, and they'll try to cite examples and say, well, this is representative of the whole. I don't really see how it is necessarily, and it's a total gaslight. It's a total gaslight to say, well, the movement's defund the police, but we're actually talking about putting in more money. I wouldn't trust it. I think at the end of the day, these are the types of people who do the same thing when it comes to the military. And I think you made that point too. They're the kinds of people, you make this point that they are not fiscal conservatives.
Yes, they're not deficit hawks. By the way, I'll say this about that just before Reese goes into this point. I came up with that on my own. Now, is there somebody else out there that's talked about that? Maybe. I don't know. I don't want to sound like I'm plagiarizing right now. I haven't seen anybody else talk about this. I'm pretty sure that's a point that I came up with, is that people that are big government are talking about how we need to cut things rather than reform and expand. That's not a thing. Nobody's talking about cutting healthcare to improve it. They want to increase spending and make it better. That's their argument. But with police and the military, not so much. Everything else, oh yeah, increase spending big time. Do everything. Why not both people? Well, but on this, oh no, we have to cut funding. Why? That sounds ideological at that point. That sounds like you have a thing against police. So,
which they obviously do.
Because they're not allergic to taxes. I'm a little bit allergic to taxes. I'm not going to pretend like they're not painful. They're just oftentimes a necessary evil. These people glorify taxes. So,
and yet this is apparently a problem. I just say I think it's amazing in light of so many things that have happened. If your point is about police training, obviously that's going to cost more in the way of resources. After the insurrection attempt, people are still talking about defund the police. That's a clown world, man. Absolute clown world.
Republicans are talking about it. Republicans are talking about it because they don't want the Capitol Police to be funded anymore.
There is that, and some of the Democrats, they were willing to, at least in that case. Now you could say it's for partisan political reasons. We're willing to change their tune on the police, but a lot of these guys, the people you were talking to, for the most part, I wouldn't call them vote blue no matter who crowd. They for the most part were identified as socialists.
They're
they're not they're not tried and true Democrats. They're not really fans of the current administration.
They don't like Gavin.
No, they don't like Newsom.
They think Devin, or not Devin. Why did I say Devin? I know why I said Devin, because the whole time during that I was struggling. I'm like, don't say Gavin McInnes, because Gavin Newsom and Gavin McInnes have the same name, and that sounds goofy. Because Gavin McInnes runs Censored TV, and Ryan G here is in the chat. He hooked me up with a subscription to Censored TV, and that's what Gavin McInnes runs, because Devin's over there. So like, I'm gonna watch Devin's stuff like in full. So thanks to Ryan for that. That's awesome. And Ryan and I, we had beers a couple weeks ago. He's an awesome guy. He's based. He's absolutely based in Hawkville. I'm like, don't say Gavin McInnes. We're talking about Gavin Newsom. But here's the thing, right? I'm like, okay, it's Gavin Newsom. It's Gavin Newsom. But then I'm reading the chat. And this, funny enough, my advice to people is the same as your advice. Never read chat. I actually read chat tonight. So I didn't read all of it. I skimmed through it. And the conversation around the Gavin Newsom thing was like, he's a corporatist Democrat. He's like a right winger, all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, look, he's in the same tier as Elizabeth Warren. But then if you were to bring Elizabeth Warren up, those people would say, yeah, she's a capitalist too. So. Yeah, no, that is a rabbit hole not worth going down. We'll get into that, in the next segment. I think that for right now we should focus on defund the police mostly. But for sure. I'll say this on the subject too. I think I went Hosmo tonight. I think I dominated. No, you kept yourself as a focal point of the conversation. That's good. That's what needs to happen. What would be so easy in this type of environment is to be lost in the sea of voices, because there's so many damn people on the panel. And, yes. Oftentimes, as much of as I think Burns is a good moderator, it's you're trying to control chaos. And a lot of people are going to be talking at once. And, and it's a lot of people who really love the sound of their own voices. Let's not look past that. Wait, you're talking about me? You're talking about me?
Yes, I'll talk.
It's like, you're talking about me? You talking about me?
That does refer to you, so it's not even necessarily a bad thing. But just keep in mind that basically everyone on the panel has the same kind of personality. Most people. We'll say.
So you're calling us all nerds? You're calling us all nerds, stupid nerds.
That's Aircraft Sparky, Hans, that Jack person probably.
That's Hans. Hans is the jacked guy. That's why he's like not tanky. He's because I get confused with him and Haas. They have very similar sounding names. So Haas is the tanky, Hans is the market socialist. So.
Hans, yeah, we'll get more into him. So a big point from a lot of the market socialists when they were in the police segment was, actually we should reallocate these resources to social workers to go deal with people's mental health. You don't always send a police officer. I don't know what situation they're talking about where a police officer is being sent to a situation that they're not equipped to deal with, or they're not the right person to respond to. Because I've seen examples. I'm trying to remember the name of the guy. Somebody in the chat might have to help me out. There was a case where the police were called on a violent young man, and people were saying, well, and he basically charged at the police with a knife and he got shot. That's the gist of the story. And I remember in the aftermath of that, people were saying, well, he had a mental health problem. You should have sent social workers. Yeah, because they would have fared real well against the knives. And you even brought up to some of these people, well, at the very least, do you think we should arm the social workers? And they said no.
Well, no, thanks. I pushed on that. No, I pushed on that because I forget her name. She was in the bottom center.
Yeah, she was something Jack. I don't remember.
Yeah. It was something water or something. Anyway, she said, and I think she's like an actual streamer. She had a pretty good setup, but she said that she felt that they should be trained in self-defense and everything so that they can handle these situations. And most people probably would have let that go. I went back afterwards when it came around to me again, and I was just like, so I want to press you on this. Would they have firearms training, or would you send them in there unarmed? And she said, no firearms. I can't believe she admitted that, but I didn't think that she thought that anybody would press her on that, because that's a big thing. It's one thing to say, have these people's focus be social work, but we're using them now as a substitute for police in a militarized society. Oh, great. Well, that's a recipe for disaster. She was talking about it as like a lot of these cases are like suicide attempts and stuff where it's not going to be a threat. What about the 1% where it's a mentally deranged person and either them or their family might be an actual danger to you? Oh, let's take away their guns and send a social worker in there. Way to get a lot of social workers killed. So
that is basically what it boiled down to. You're sending these unarmed people, untrained people to slaughter. And it was completely irresponsible, failing to really grapple with the nature of society, acting like, yeah, and we're not going to sit here and deny that there are mental health issues, but I don't think a social worker is qualified to do the job of the police. And because the conversation is revolving around, oftentimes a lot of the people who are police aren't qualified. We're saying that they need more training. They need a little bit longer, in the oven to fully be ready. That's what we're saying. So, but we're going to totally scrap that. And they undermine every single point they made about police training when they suggest that you throw an unarmed and untrained social worker in to do the job of the police. Well, then why the fuck are you concerned with police training? It sounds like you believe we could just throw anybody into these situations. I have news for you. If a social worker had dealt with that young man with the knife, they'd be dead.
They'd be dead. Look, she didn't have a serious...
The police almost died.
Well, no, she didn't have
the guy with the knife almost got him.
Yeah, she didn't have a serious position on that. She probably thinks her position is very serious, but it's not. Hans, on the other hand, had more of a serious position, which was, well, no, they should have master's degrees and stuff, but still do policing. What do you think of that? Because
what?
Well, no, that was the part where he said that they should, like, he didn't have an issue if you make cops have a master's degree or a bachelor's degree. And Aircraft Sparky's point was, well, an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old gets a few weeks of combat training and they can work in Afghanistan. And then that's what spiraled that whole debate around that. And my point was, why not give both of them better training and pay both of them better? Which I was surprised. I got to keep it real with you. I was surprised that when I said that entry-level junior officers should be paid more, that leftists took an issue with that. That was funny to me.
Well, there is a divide among them in terms of believing whether or not police officers are workers. Because, a lot of them will say, well, they're part of the upper echelon. They're part of the man.
They're blue-collar, hard-working people that work in the drudges of society. How are they not working class?
But they enforce the law. So therefore they're not workers, man. Apparently, that's the logic.
No, I can't handle these Marxists, man. Like, I mean, their logic is so warped. We had that same woman with the pinkish fuchsia hair, and I forget her name. I'm going to try to find her name because she was posted when Katarna posted who was invited. She listed everybody. I'm going to get her name right now. Riverboat Jack was her name, and she's on Twitter. She said that basically the problem was, I'm forgetting, I'm losing my train of thought right now. What was I just talking about? I was talking about something important. What was I just saying?
Riverboat Jack said something about whether or not police officers were workers, or
Oh, that's
basically
right.
You were talking about entry level salaries for police officers.
So no, she said more broadly later on in the panel that capitalism uses jobs and homelessness to force people to work for it. And I'm listening to this and I'm just like, this is insane. So she was talking about how under her system that, you wouldn't be forced and all this kind of stuff to work like you are under capitalism. And I just posted, I highlighted in Dylan's chat on Twitch. I said, as opposed to under Marxism, where if you refuse to work, you go to a gulag instead of being homeless. So great. I guess you're not homeless. So
No, that was later on, and that was definitely cringe.
No,
Because
it was
the logic,
so cringe, but it was so cringe because I know what she would say if she was here. She would say, but I don't support the Soviet Union. I'm not a tanky. I'm like an anarchist socialist or whatever. Hey, consider this. Consider this. The Mikey Man dancing on the screen right now as a more serious understanding of how socialism actually works than a lot of the people on that panel. Seriously,
right.
because he would say, well, then it's not real socialism. How would it even work? There'd be a power struggle, and then based alphas like Haas would take over, is what he would say. So, which, like, let's keep it real. If there was a power struggle in that chat tonight, I guess it would be him versus Hans. They'd have a wrestling match. I don't know who would win. It would be funny to watch, though. Actually, Main Dylan could host it. He loves wrestling. He talks about wrestling all the time on his show. Like, see, that's the other thing about this. Like, that's the other thing about this. That's kind of funny. Dylan and I disagree on a shit ton of stuff, but I watch his show every day. I think he's a pretty talented dude. So it's kind of funny how all this shit happened in the last year, because we used to be like enemies and stuff. But
it is quite the twist. I'll say on that bet. That was later on.
No, imagine Haas and I start getting along. Because imagine Hans is just like, yeah, see, he's saying that the tankies are the better socialists. Kind of like the Calvinists. They're like, yeah, he's saying that we have a better interpretation of Christianity. You know? It's like, well, yeah. Like, if I was going to be Christian, I'd be a Calvinist. If I was going to be socialist, I'd be a tanky. But I'm neither of them.
Not exactly ringing endorsements, but I suppose, you got to find common ground somewhere.
Yeah. No, but that would be interesting. They're like, oh, yeah, he's against us. He thinks our ideology is stupid, but he says that we're the most practical about it. So based, this is based. It's like the Nick Fuentes. Yeah.
This is based.
This is based. No, I watch that clip a few times a week. It's too funny to me. He's like, oh man, we've been walking for miles. And then 3 seconds later, he's just like looking around, like, where are we going? And then they're like, I don't know. And he's like, this is based. And he had such an inflected question mark in it. I was just like, wait, are you supposed to be a Chad? What kind of Chad is like, is this based? This is based? So I was like, today, I'm like, this is cringe? Bruh. Because obviously he's saying it's based. Like, of course he's going to say it's based. It's him and his dork squad. It's him and his groypers. It's him and his posse. The whole posse's there. So, of course, he thinks it's based. But even he, when he's trying to sell himself in public, it's like, this is based? Like, even he doesn't believe it, because he knows he's the best looking guy there, the most serious looking guy there. And he's like, but I'm Nick Fuentes. So, So all the others don't even look like they're done high school.
Look, man, they'll get there someday.
There was one point in it when they were all just like, Nick. And immediately he starts saying like Nick, and then he realizes, oh wait, that I probably shouldn't do that, and he stops chanting his own name. It's so cringe.
Wait a minute, I am Nick.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, Nick. So I don't know if he like thought they were chanting for somebody else named Nick, or if he was like, yeah, they're chanting for me, but then he realized, oh, this probably looks goofy, so he stopped. I don't know, but it was funny, and Burns pointed out in his analysis of it, and I missed that actually when I covered it. I just pointed out how these guys look like a bunch of dweebers, like their whole posse. The guys that call me gay whenever I make a video on Nick Fuentes, they look like this, calling everybody gay video. So every time I get a gay video comment, I immediately picture this dude in the blue suit. So
the whole posse.
Yeah, Kevin. That's right.
Kevin.
This is cringe. You can tell they were based in middle school. No. They are based in middle school. Look at them. They're based in middle school.
Yeah,
you can't tell me. No. Don't try to call these people cringe. You know these people are based in middle school. You know that kid in the blue suit. You know he absolutely owned that test in grade 7 math today, man. He's based in middle school. So
showed that math test who's boss.
Yeah, show him who's boss. He went all trad-pilled and Groypercon on that math test, man. They asked him, they're like, divide 3 by 3. And he was like, no, we don't believe in division. We believe in national unity around the great leader, Nick Fuentes. He owned that math test, bro.
Oy. So anyway.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about the police or something.
I'll say on that point, that did happen later on what Riverboat Jack said, but this idea, she was trying to make a point that that capitalism was pushing and celebrating homelessness, and you know, in case people, the people in this chat know, people in this chat are based enough to know. Homelessness is not a boon to capitalism at all.
And they were based in middle school too, and high school.
Homelessness is not a boon to capitalism at all. It's actually a giant drain on the system in a lot of ways. When you have people who have barely any interactivity with the economy, just because they can't, they don't have the monies. I don't understand this idea that people who don't have money and don't have a home, and somehow that's something that capitalism celebrates. That's absolutely untrue. Absolutely untrue. The goal of capitalism, the reason why capitalism arose as an economic philosophy, was to give power to the people that they didn't have under feudalism. That was the point, to actually give people their own private property, to give people a way to move themselves up in society.
You know what's so great about that? Even Marx would actually agree with that. He'd just say, oh, but it's not as good as socialism.
Well, you know, Marx was significantly more intelligent than a lot of his descendants, his intellectual descendants, shall we say.
Oh yeah, I gotta ask you about that. It's the age-old question. Do you think that Stalin, or do you think that Marx would have endorsed Stalin? Because I would have said, yeah, he would have considered him exactly the dictatorship of the proletariat. But what do you think?
Oh, absolutely. He supported dictatorship. So, but that's not to take away that he had some interesting ideas, and he could definitely argue his own ideas better than a lot of these losers that we're dealing with today. So there you go.
Yeah,
but no, he recognized the benefits of a capitalist society. He wouldn't be like one of these people who's like at every turn, like just like contrarian, trying to tear down capitalism, no matter what.
No. He wrote most all of his writings were about capitalism, not about socialism, and he described capitalism as a progressive force out of feudalism.
So he could recognize that, but there you go.
I mean, he literally argued that if you didn't have capitalism, you could never have socialism. You never have the base to get there in the first place. That was his point. That's the point of the Dangus, by the way. People try to say, well, no, China's not communist, they're capitalist. It's like, no, they're communists that have read their Marx. They actually know what they're doing. We should probably worry about them, but yeah.
It actually reminded me of, I believe Lusacev was making that point in terms of, you know, it was just a mistake in a lot of ways to go from, you know, this peasant society, which is often the case in a lot of these societies that were heavily influenced by Marxist thought, into full-blown communism. And a lot of people who are like modern day socialist apologists, they will cite that primarily as the reason why those states failed. Hey, at the very least, you acknowledge that they failed. We still deal with people who act like they were a rousing success when they clearly weren't. So, but again, even that is a little disappointing because it's people who they still advocate for Marxism, but they don't really have the stomach for what that entails. And at that point, look, if you don't have the stomach for something, maybe you shouldn't be advocating for it. Maybe it's the wrong idea. Maybe it's the wrong road to go down. There needs to be a moment of self-reflection at that point, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't really have too much else to add to this topic apart from the fact that, consider this. This was the set of topics that I was least focused on in terms of my content. And you're saying I did the best out of anything of the Hippy Dippy shows out of 4 on this one. So
it might have just been your will to dominate the discourse and to make yourself a focal point of the conversation. I think in the previous streams there would be a topic that you discussed to some degree, and you had a really strong showing there. And then there'd be a topic that you kind of clearly cared about less, and so you just didn't talk about it as much. So it's hard to gauge. I think that this was a better consistent performance on every topic. I think that you had a strong showing, and it's not to say that you automatically have a bad showing if you don't talk too much on it, because that happens to a lot of the people on these panels. Not everybody can talk, and I mean, there were some people tonight who barely said 2 words. I don't even know why they were there. It was they're just there to fill up a spot, and it's kind of sad, because if you're going to be there, well, you should at least talk. I think a lot of it too.
I was surprised that Denims didn't talk very much. Like, she's an active content creator. She has a huge following, for example.
Oh, she said the least easily. I don't remember 2 words of what she said.
If I looked her up on YouTube, she had about 20,000. But if I look her up on Twitch, I'm pretty sure she has a lot more than that. I mean, Vosh talks about her all the time. Denim, 25,000 on Twitch. So
I think it's also a matter of, like, I feel like you've become significantly more comfortable with the setting. Like, you've been on 4 times. You're just more comfortable with it.
And, there was no nervousness. I've gotten nervous there before. Don't get me wrong. I mean, because there's 1,000 people watching right now, and it's like, okay, 1,000. I've had 100 people watching me on this channel at one time before, but 50,000 people are going to watch this once you count the total Twitch and YouTube views, right? So that's how many people see this by the end of the week. So I don't really get nervous about it anymore. Now, that being said, I might get nervous if I was going to go on Tim Pool or something, because he's got a bigger audience. But, it's all stepping stones, basically. So,
And in that case, it would probably just be you, or you versus somebody else with Tim Pool as a moderator. So, again, that's a lot more of the attention on you specifically. No,
by the way, on that point, by the way, I just got to say, I watched about half of it so far. Insane, but Vosh really kicked Charlie Kirk's ass debating him. I can't believe it, because Charlie Kirk, I know we can't talk about the no issue, but Charlie Kirk said things about the no issue that would make Alex Jones blush in his debate with Vosh. So
They really, I don't know why they couldn't find somebody to put against Vosh who wasn't a total meme, basically. Charlie Kirk is a meme. You need somebody else.
So is Vosh. Vosh is a meme too. He's just smarter than Charlie Kirk. Doesn't mean he's right. It just means he's a smarter dude who's wrong. So
and that was another example. So we know that he has more radical beliefs, than what he lets on in the few clips that I saw from that. But a lot of these guys, what they'll do is they will moderate their views, given the context, given the conversation they're in, and then they look more reasonable. Then they bring more people over to their side who are maybe on the fence, and then you slowly begin this indoctrination process where you radicalize them. But that's how it starts. That's absolutely how it has to start. And quite frankly, I think people like Vosh are just better at that than Charlie Kirk. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So they needed to put up somebody way more in tune with the current discourse and the arguments that someone like Vosh would make.
The problem is he was in tune with the discourse. The stuff that he said about the no issue is really popular right now on One America News Network, on some parts of Fox News, all over Facebook, Boomer Chan, all that kind of stuff. All these people that are like, oh no, you can't make me wear that thing that protects me from the no issue. They would love that. They'd say that he destroyed Vosh. The problem is,
but most people watching, so there's a wider audience, but you'd have to think that the audience who would watch something like this tend to skew younger. So it would have been better to throw up
though. They skew conservative though. So
a Gen Z GOP person, I think, would have done had a better presentation against Vosh.
Oh yeah, no. Samaboto is somebody who probably would have done a lot better. I know Gen Z GOP gets accused of grifting a lot. Ian Stevens used to be associated with them and everything, but they're also presentable people. I think Sam probably would have schooled Vosh on a lot of stuff. Charlie Kirk's just you're right, he's a goober, he's a meme, right? So he's not a serious person. So
it was hosted by Tim Pool, so I will grant you that a lot of the audience, at least the core audience, they're more in line with what Charlie Kirk is saying. But you have to keep in mind that a lot of people who are going to watch something like that aren't part of Tim Pool's normal audience.
Oh, you know who would have destroyed Vosh? You know who would have destroyed Vosh? The base dude who follows both of us now.
Yeah, man. Bill Crystal.
Yeah, that's Bill Crystal. That's Bill Crystal. I love how in that interview that I did with Politically Provoked, and by the way, there's an announcement about that. I'm going to go on their panel tomorrow night, their drink and chat panel, because I've already done the interviews, so I can go on their panels and stuff now. That one's an open panel. It'll be fun. I'm going to drink, hopefully school some fascies and stuff. That'll be fun. And me, some communists too. When Todd asked me when we were doing the interview, he's like, you're the first one we've ever interviewed. And they done like 67 interviews at that point. You're the first one who's ever said that they listened to Bill Crystal. And I was just like, well, maybe Bill Crystal listens to me now. Who knows? And he was like, well, maybe, who knows? But
I think he does. I truly think that. Now maybe that's wishful thinking, perhaps, but I'm
too small time right now, dude. I'm too small time. This guy, by the way, Bill Crystal runs.
He's totally seen a show where we put him in the title. Like if we had a title where it was like Kremlin Kyle attacks Bill Crystal, I guarantee you he's seen a few minutes from that. I guarantee you he has. And that's probably why he follows us.
Dude, can you imagine if we do a crossover at some point? How many heads would explode? Depending on the kind of crossover, if it's like a government thing, maybe literally if they're the Taliban, who knows? Spooky, right?
What-oh.
What-oh. Where's the meme for that? I got a meme for that somewhere here. Where's that meme? I got a meme for that. No. I'm serious, dude. I got a meme for that.
You got a meme for everything.
No, that's the one that was responding to a tweet. That was White using me. No, here's the one right here. And people are going to be like, no, Saddam wasn't the Taliban.
Bro.
We don't have a Taliban one yet. We're going to have one eventually, but yeah, was surprised how tall Kirk was next to Voos. Yeah, Voos. Here's the thing about Voos. Voos was about a foot shorter than Charlie. When Voos is standing at a 90-degree upright angle, just standing up straight, Charlie Kirk has to bend about 15 degrees down to get into the photo. Charlie Kirk's also pretty tall. He's about, they say he's like 6'4", so that dude's like 4 inches taller than me. And like, I already am a decently tall guy. So, no, Charlie Kirk, he's pretty tall. Unfortunately, what he has in height, he lacks in brain power. So, it's a trade-off. So,
you can only have one. I see.
You can only have one. It's like
Vosh is not short though. Not really. I think he's over 6 foot.
Wait, me? It was Tim who's the short one.
Tim Pool was obviously shorter than both of them.
Tim Pool, Vosh, Charlie picture. I'm gonna see if I can find it so that we can analyze it. Because I was going around
instead of the debate, let's analyze this picture.
Yeah, because somebody did it with angles. No, you're right. Vosh is totally in the middle. We're gonna take a look at this because it's funny. Like I said, I only saw about half the debate. So maybe Charlie popped off later on. I don't know. I talked with people that watched it. They said that Vosh won. Let's take a look here.
Let's flip and go.
Let's flip and go. Maybe not 15 degrees, maybe like 12 degrees. Charlie has to bend over. That's to be in line with Tim. Yeah, no, you're right. I guess Vosh is probably close to 6 feet. Charlie's pretty tall. Charlie's pretty. I was surprised at how short Tim was. I didn't realize that Tim Pool was that short. Tim Pool is probably like 5'7" or 5'6". So, and by the way, I don't know. Like even just this picture, I understand it. You know, they say in politics, whoever's the tallest candidate has the higher chance of winning and has better optics and better viewer retention in debates, all that kind of stuff. Better polling afterward debates is always the taller candidate. And so presidents skew taller than the average, right? But I don't know. I get Charlie Kirk looks taller here. I think Vosh won in this picture, though. Vosh looks like he's the alpha in the picture. What do you think of that?
No, yeah. No, it's the energy. It's the look on his face. It's the way he's draping his arms across them.
Like Tim Pool just kind of looks like, yeah, this happened. Charlie Kirk just kind of looks like, I guess we did this. And Vosh is just like, let's flip and go. So.
Hey, he's like, thanks, guys. You just made a bunch more socialists for me to exploit.
Oh man, how happy would you have to be if you're Vosh right now? Like, because here's the thing about Vosh, and here's the thing about all those guys in BreadTube. When they're big time opponents are people like Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro, who can't even wrap his shoulder around. Like, because if Charlie Kirk or if Ben Shapiro was here, his hand would be full outwards, parallel to his arm. Whereas with Vosh, it's perpendicular, basically, right on Charlie's shoulder. When those are your opponents, I mean, it's easy to make dumb ideas look smart. So I just how Trump won after all. No, but if Trump was doing the expression, that kind of meek, kind of expression as Charlie there, and Vosh was in the center, like, because Vosh is reaching up, so by definition, Charlie's going to look more prominent, but Vosh looks more prominent. So I don't know.
Jeb Bush is pretty tall too.
Yeah, and he's like, please clap, please clap, please clap.
And he had kind of this weak energy that people didn't like.
Well, no. That was only true for a time until Trump called him out on it, and then he got rid of it because he changed his campaign slogan from Jeb 2016 to Jeb 2016. So an exclamation mark on his name, so you know he's high energy with the Zoomers. You know, like because you know. I did a debate with Boomin Truman recently. He went hype. He went zoomin' zemin. That's what he did. Like, I gotta get like a meme like that. Somebody has to make that account of like Jiang Zemin, like the former leader of China, just as a zoomer, you know, because he was an old dude. But like imagine Zemin as a zoomer. Yeah, Zoomer Zemin. What was he? I think he came after. Did he come after Dang? What was Zemin? Because I know Zemin, yeah, Jiang Zemin. He, I mean, he definitely wasn't a Zoomer. He was old, but, and he had the glasses and everything. But like, see, this is the thing about the Dangus and stuff, and all these people is like, you look at them, they don't do shit like this. Like, his Haas is a Dangus, but he's a dumb Dangus. The actual serious Dangus would laugh at him and be like, what is he doing? Why is he such a clown? The smart Dangus look like, I'm going to bring up Zoomin Zemin right now, the former leader of the People's Republic of China. Then now this guy's a true Zoomer right here. Let's see the hype Zoomer vibe, Zoomin Zemin. So that's him. He's a Zoomer. So Zoomin Zemin. But see, like, he would look at Haas and just be like, so like, this is the spectrum of Dangus, I guess. It's just funny to me. It's funny because most like Dangus are usually the people who are like, you know, at least in China, they're like glasses, ties, suits, that kind of stuff. In the West, the Dangus are like this. They're tormenting me. It's so funny because Haas is so loud. Haas deep throats the mic. Whereas when Zemin would give a speech, he has like 18 microphones in front of him and like 100,000 people there, and he's just kind of like, yeah, you know, this is the Central Committee. This is what we do. That's what we're about. And then Haas is just like, no, they're tormenting me. They're dominating the airwaves. But then he's also like dominated. So it's funny. It's funny. I'm never going to get over that contrast of Dingus in the West, Dingus in China. Like, it's fun. It's funny. It's never not funny.
I think my favorite set of comments are, where is it? Kevin is an alpha. Kevin is an alpha. Reese is a sigma male.
wait. Hold on. People are calling like that sigma male grind. Wait, isn't sigma supposed? Isn't
alpha
sigma
Kevin,
the higher tier?
Sigma Reese.
Wait, but aren't sigmas supposed to be the higher level? How's the hierarchy work? Is sigma lower or higher?
I think it's actually higher.
I think it's higher.
Sigma male, I'm looking it up. I'm behind on the meme, so maybe I'm not a sigma.
But
Sigma
it has
male
to be a meme. That can't actually be, because like alpha is a term in biology when they're talking about gorillas and stuff. Sigma, that has to be like a 4chan thing or something, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I've seen it more on Twitter, to be honest with you. But
okay.
Sigma male is a slang term used in masculinist subcultures for a popular, successful, but highly independent and self-reliant man. Another term for a sigma male is a lone wolf. Hey man, you have two wolves inside of you, man.
Hi man. No. We can't put that meme up on stream anymore because we're trying to keep this more TOS now. Because I'd actually try to like to not get banned from YouTube, even though if I do, I've got all the hard drives and stuff that you guys got me, but and just upload it elsewhere. So trying to avoid TOS violations, but I do have a meme where it says one of them is based in nuke build and the other wolf is a word that we can't say. So
Sigma is equal to alpha. Well, there you go. Equal but
Sigma
different.
Equal to alpha. I guess it's equal to different. So if a sigma is a popular, successful, independent lone wolf, then what's an alpha defined as?
Maybe it's maybe because it's more that you're focused on community and building up your channel at this point.
Okay.
So you're like the leader, and I'm like the the train wrecker who comes on the panels every now and then.
Oh man. No, it's been a ride, man. People are going to be like, oh man, 1,000 videos and he hasn't hit 1,000 subs yet. It's like, I'm telling you, we have a more devoted, a more based, a more serious community here than a lot of the channels that have like 5,000 subs. Like, I mean, consider Infrared. His chat is a meme. They're just there to post emojis. There's nothing serious happening.
Why aren't you backing me up on Twitter?
Like, consider the fact that the most well-read and the most serious person there is Haas, for example. So,
oh, yowza! Can't
right?
Can't get much more of a low blow than that.
By the way, you know who's also done an interview with Politically Provoked? Haas. You know who else goes on Politically Provoked panels? Haas. Now imagine Haas shows up tomorrow night, because here's the thing about me tomorrow. I have tomorrow off work. The pop-on starts at 5 p.m. I'm going to be there for 5 p.m. So Haas can't be like, oh, Kevin's there, I'm not going to come on. He's going to come in and see me there. What's he going to do? Is he going to pull a Steven Crowder, or are we going to debate? We might actually get a debate with the Monkey Man. That's what I'm hoping for. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Because the second I say, hello, Haas, he can't just leave, because then he looks like, what's below beta then? If Sigma's equal to alpha, what's below beta? Because that
I don't know
theta,
I don't know if anything is.
Because theta is a thing. That's a great term. It's like you use it for angles and stuff. Maybe Zeta. What's the Z? Zeta. Omega. Wait, isn't Omega supposed
male
to be base? Like if somebody says I'm your alpha and Omega, doesn't that mean like I'm your everything or something? Like
I'm the beginning and the end. Yeah. I don't know, man.
Oh, it's gamma. That's right. It's gamma. That's right. But you know what's funny about that? You know what's so funny about that? In nuclear physics, it's actually the complete opposite of that. So if you get zapped by alpha particles, you can actually defend yourself with a piece of paper. If you get zapped by beta particles, you can defend yourself with light clothing. But if you get zapped by gamma particles, you actually need about 6 feet of lead between you to shield you from the radiation.
And then you become the Hulk.
So, like, consider this: a gamma radiation is many trillions of times more powerful than alpha radiation. Alpha radiation will not kill you. Gamma radiation, I mean, that prompt radiation, you're done, son. Like that's an ouch moment. So where is it? Right there. Yeah, that because when Grabble went off there. By the way, this was a real thing that happened. Like, I know it's a meme and everything, but you'll notice everybody looks at the mushroom cloud. Notice that thing on the right. What is that? Oh, that's a cannon. That's right. The United States actually built cannons to fire nukes and used them, tested them. That's a real thing, by the way. Imagine a nuke cannon. So, but you know, that thing sent off a lot of gamma particles. But it's like somebody says to you, it's like, okay, you got to choose a particle to come at you. Which are you going to choose, the alphas, the betas, or the gammas? Most people will probably say, well, I guess the betas are probably the weakest. No. The alphas are weaker. The gammas, yeah, it's the gammas that are the fucking. So it's the reverse in nuclear physics. It's the gammas that wreck your organs. So yeah.
The more you know.
The more you know. But Nuke Pill Pepe already knew that. So. So yeah.
Base.
Anyway, we'll get back to the police thing. I'm gonna go get some water and stuff. I'll be back in a couple minutes. Feel free to insert. Oh, I like this though. Superpower broadcasting is a nuke cannon.
Yeah, you know, people watching the channel couldn't deny the existence of nuke cannons. Come on, they see nuke cannons every day.
They see nuke cannons every day. Yeah, no, that's right. Absolutely.
Every day, bro.
It's every day, bro, with the nuke cannon flow.
I'll entertain the people. You do what you need to do, my dude. Oi, let's see. We got Chris here. Total Reese Call. I like you. I like your username. Will Stuff. Kyle Kirk. Unfortunately, I can't highlight your guys' comments. We have Elsa Marsh. We got Natalie. So yeah, we're going to get into it. To be quite honest with you, I don't have a whole lot else to say about the Defund the Police segment. I thought that it was pretty expected deflection coming from people who would support such a movement. Any kind of pushback and just watch them retreat like that. That usually, to me, is a red flag. If somebody's going to give me pushback, I'm going to stand by what I had to say, no matter how controversial it was, no matter how it went well, over with people. I can't stand that this tendency to gaslight and to make it out so movements like Defund the Police and All Cops Are Bastards are more moderate than they actually are. They're actually not moderate movements at all, and have been pretty thoroughly rejected by most people who would describe themselves as center to center left at this point. It doesn't go over well. That is the consensus among them. There was a speech I saw the other day that Cory Booker gave about Defund the Police, and basically he was standing out against it, and he was saying, I find it ridiculous that anyone in this chamber would support such a movement. So that's kind of the reigning consensus over in that camp. Now, obviously, people who support Defund the Police, they don't like Cory Booker, they don't like Joe Biden, and the people who were debating Kevin on the Hippy Dippy show, yeah, they were significantly more left wing than that, and they actively described themselves as socialists. So, no, they. But then they want to make it out as to win people over and to appear more reasonable. But I truly believe that they and the positions they hold are a lot more radical than they're letting on, for the most part. And they try to make it out as, oh, we just want to reform. We just want training. We want training. But then we're going to throw, unequipped, unarmed, and untrained social workers into these situations that would require a police presence. It's absolutely unconscionable, and it's a joke. It's a total joke, and it's a conversation being had that is failing to grapple with reality, failing to even consider the implications of such policy. They haven't thought about it. I truly believe that. They haven't thought about it. They haven't thought about what it would be like to be a social worker thrown into that situation. And I hate that kind of shit, man. I hate that, because you have to consider that. You absolutely have to consider that. And we got Kevin back. There we go.
Yeah, I was going to say I was listening to a little bit of that. I know that she would have said there that, well, no, you'd only send them to situations that don't require police. The problem is a lot of situations that even police respond to, they think are going to be routine, and then they turn out to be shooting sprees. So
exactly. It's, that was a big point during that segment was, and even some of the people on the right who were, theoretically opposed to defund the police were making these points too, treating the police as strictly a reactive force, treating the police as basically the janitors who come in and they mop up all the blood. I don't, that's a use for the police. I don't think it should be the only use, because just like we support preemptive action on the international stage, we should also support preemptive action oftentimes on the domestic front in terms of curtailing criminal activity and even potential criminal activity. We should be actively involved in that. You should always plan for the worst. And you know what it looks like to not plan for the worst is to throw a social worker who's unarmed and untrained into the jaws of the beast. That is quite the opposite of what we should actually be doing.
Oh, absolutely. We are going to wrap up this segment, though. I'm going to answer a question first by
I gotcha.
Total Rescall. What's your opinion of Robert Oppenheimer? Well, obviously he was a genius. Obviously he did a lot of important work, and he was the father of the atomic bomb. Basically, he was the director of the Los Alamos project with the Manhattan Project. Thing about Robert Oppenheimer is that, I don't know if many people realize this, he actually opposed the development of the super, or the hydrogen bomb. I'm more of a Tiller guy myself, or Teller, I should say, Edwin Teller. Yeah. Edward Teller. Here's the thing. Robert Oppenheimer saw Trinity go off, and he had that line, I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. He was citing a Hindu scripture of some kind. Mm-hmm. And his view on nukes changed after that, and he called for a lot of controls and everything. The problem was the US let the Soviet Union get nuclear weapons, but he still opposed the hydrogen bomb. He was actually investigated for anti-American activities, a number of different things. The FBI investigated him. He was pretty outspoken later on about his opposition to not just nuclear proliferation, but the United States advancing its nuclear capabilities. Edward Teller, on the other hand, said, we need a hydrogen bomb to spook the shit out of the Soviets and let them know, oh, that's cute, you got an atomic bomb. Oh, yeah, you can yield 20 kilotons. We can yield 10,400 kilotons. So what are you going to do about it? That was Teller's attitude. And they didn't really get along that well, actually. So Oppenheimer was based, and then he became, I'm not going to say cringe. He did a lot of good work. I mean, keep it real. If it wasn't for him and his efforts and some of his colleagues, that war with Japan would have saw at least 1 million more Americans die. So those guys did great work. But I think after they found out it wasn't going to be used on the Nazis, it was going to be used on Japan. Some of them for sure said, we didn't sign up for this, which is funny because they're both fascists, but whatever. And the second was, he realized that that this could spiral out of control. The problem is, and here's the real kicker with Oppenheimer. It was going to spiral out of control no matter what if you didn't take the Soviet Union out. So imagine the US decides not to pursue hydrogen bombs, but doesn't take down the Soviet Union. Then the Soviet Union now has high yield thermonuclear weapons. And the best thing that you can lob at them, I guess, would be Ivy King, which yielded 500 kilotons. But keep in mind, Ivy King, that test, that was the largest full yield fission device ever done. You can't really get above 500 kilotons. That device was so unstable that there was a chance it exploded in the bomber as it was going to test it. That's how unstable it was. It was the Super Orloy device. It was 4 separate pieces of close to critical uranium, all kept very close together, and everybody knew there was a chance they could simultaneously detonate if anything went wrong. Not a very safe device, not a very practical device, and even if you manage to get it to enemy territory, you're yielding 1% of what the Soviets had by 1961, because they got 50 megatons, because they did decide to pursue thermonuclear weapons. And yes, you can say, well, they had a similar thing with Sakharov and whatnot, and Sakharov went on to be an anti-nuclear advocate and everything, and he got in trouble with the secret police and all that kind of stuff. The difference with Oppenheimer and Sakharov was that Sakharov got disillusioned with nukes after he developed thermonuclear weapons for the Soviets. Oppenheimer got disillusioned with nukes for America after they got the first atomic bomb. That's the difference. Like, I'm not throwing like a lot of shade at him because he did a lot of good work, but Edward Teller was more based, like by far. There's that meme. You go to Reese's channel, some of his recent videos are like, a second sun rose over Eniwetok as ghosts and goblins roam the streets of California as Edward Teller sat in the lab. And you're like, oh man, it was so spooky. Like, I mean, you wouldn't have spooky nukies without Edward Teller. You'd have nukies, but you wouldn't have spooky nukies, I guess. So.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. What do you think about that? If you got any comment on it, I know it's not really on the topic, but
I just have one thing to say. When it comes to pursuing that line of factlessness, you can almost understand, because when you have people who are more scientifically minded than militarily minded, they're gonna have different, attitudes toward the use of their inventions. But the pursuit of that line of factlessness, not only do you have a problem with the yield, but down the road, you're going to have a major problem with the delivery systems. Because if you're not actually going to pursue and advancing your arsenal, advancing your capability of delivering your weapons into enemy territory, obviously destructively, not like giving them the weapons.
Well, I think one reason, I'll say this, I think one reason why Teller was so pilled on this too was that Teller got out of Nazi Germany right before it was too late for people to get out of Nazi Germany. So, because it wasn't safe for Jews, right? Like, and he left in the 1930s, and he got out, but he saw fascism, firsthand. He recognized just the evil that they're capable of, and he recognized that America needed a hydrogen bomb. That an atomic bomb was never going to be good enough, because he knew, if we don't do it, the Soviets will do it. So,
no, that is a big part of it. So I'm glad that things went the way they did, basically. And despite some people's reservations about, because again, there's a difference between someone who is more scientifically minded versus someone who is militarily minded. And oftentimes, for the sake of advancing the nation and advancing your people and your cause, these two sides have to come together, and they have to work out some kind of compromise in order to advance your civilization. But when it comes down to it, someone like Oppenheimer, he's not making foreign policy decisions. He's making nukes.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I mean, the thing is, for that situation too, I really think the fact that Teller was born in Hungary, went to school in Germany right around the rise of Hitler, saw that stuff, basically unfold. I mean, it's basically the sort of situation where when you look at it, I think Teller had a more real understanding of how the world works, and he understood how politics works a lot better. And there's a lot of activism and stuff, a lot of that kind of stuff in politics, and people see Oppenheimer as an authority figure on the issue, kind of like how people might see Space Hosh as an authority figure in my debate against him, because he was trained. He had done 3 years learning how to operate nuclear reactors aboard U.S. submarines. But here's the problem. Oppenheimer developed nuclear weapons. He didn't conduct foreign policy, as Reese is saying. Those are actually two different things. Just because you know nuclear physics doesn't make you qualified on how to handle the Soviet Union. Likewise, just because you can keep a reactor from melting down doesn't mean you know how to handle nuclear warfare. And I got to say, just an aside here, it is weird and noteworthy that, as Jay talks about, there are fascists in the military and in the police that we know about that have been brought to light with the Trump insurrection. It's also weird to see communists. Space Hosh is a Marxist. How is he allowed on board a U.S. nuclear missile submarine to manage its nuclear reactor? To me, that just seems like a security issue. I don't know. I know he said he was never like actually on board while it was at sea. I know for a fact that the CIA security clearances, all kinds of security clearances, any top secret security clearance, a lot of these, they test your ideological loyalty. They're not going to have you be sympathetic to Orban and be having access to stuff. They're not going to have you be sympathetic to China and have access to stuff. I'm surprised he got it that far, being a Marxist in the U.S. Navy. That seems like a security threat. I don't know. I know he would say, oh, that sounds like fascism. I also want to keep fascists away from nuclear reactors. So
I had heard something about that. So, you know, given his unwillingness to strike first against a nation like North Korea, that makes a little bit more sense.
He opposed Little Boy and Fat Man. He said that Truman shouldn't have done that.
The Red-Brown Alliance is, you know, even more real than horseshoe theory, quite frankly.
Oh, yeah, no, and it bends cringeward 100%. That debate was a crap show. It made the Kurt debate look smart. He said things there that were insane to me. He had 3 weeks to research before the debate. Nothing. He's like, you just want to kill millions of people. I don't want to murder people. Bro, the fact that I had to explain,
sounds like something that Ace Arcus would say.
The fact that I had to explain to somebody who's been in the Navy for 3 years that collateral damage is unintentional is beyond insanity. But that actually happened. That's why if you look at the post-game video for it, I'm like, big win. And I'm like, with a thumbs up and stuff, because it wasn't even like, okay, Mycroft and I, we have our disagreements. Mycroft was like, oh yeah, Kevin destroyed this guy. Kevin nuked this guy. And Mycroft and I have our disagreements. So, you know, I mean, it's funny. It's funny to me just how you can be in the military that long and just not get it at all. So, and of course, him and capitalist neocon were bitching and twitching and coping and moping about how I'm insane, and they were doing Liz memes. Except at least Liz grew out of it by the looks of it. She doesn't really do debates anymore. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm like, well, I do debates. Does that make me a child? No. You can do debates and be base. The problem is she recognized that she was cringe, so she gave up debates. That's better than being cringe and continuing doing debates. So, you know, but
capitalist neocon is the biggest loser I've ever seen in my life.
No, he's so bad. He's so bad. He's so bad. You're gonna say, well, what about Neo Konosuke or whatever? Neo Konosuke doxed me. He doxed me. But even he has a social life. I can recognize, look, he's horrible. He wants to kill dogs. He wants to murder dogs. He wants the government to murder dogs systematically. And yet, for all of his doxing and everything else and attacking my family and everything, I can recognize he still gets outside. He still has somewhat of a life. Capitalist neocon, no, you're right. He's the biggest loser I've ever debated. You're totally right about that. He makes unironic NCAP look energetic.
You look like a Chad.
Yes. He makes ANCAP look Chad pilled. Are you kidding me? I've never seen even comedy bits that make fun of Valley Girls. I've never seen them ask that many questions in one sentence as him. So
nice. So there's that. I suppose that we should get back into it. So we're
gonna move on to round two. Round two, something that unironic ANCAP can probably never have. Never have. And something, by the way, Space Hosh will also never have. So,
what would be the point, basically?
Well, that's the thing. Everybody gets one, but you actually have to be like a serious debate contender to get two, and it's not ideological. I was saying this too. I'm like, look, I debated Ray Murasame, who's a communist fascist, and Uncle Thomas, who's a fascist communist. I had them both on twice. By the way, both of them are welcome to debate me again. Uncle Thomas says that he doesn't want to do it anymore. That it's too much research and stuff to try to like compete and keep up with me. He's admitted I won both times, by the way. So I mean, I guess credit where credit is due. He knows, like, yeah, but if he gets more experience under his belt, he debates more people. He's welcome to come back and debate me anytime. But you know why? Because he wasn't a complete clown ball about it. Like, don't get me wrong, his positions are goofy, but he's at least mature and serious and actually tries to understand where I'm coming from. And he's also not continually an interrupter, not derailing everything. Same with Ray Murasame. These are both people that you can have a debate with. Space Hosh, within 5 minutes, it was abundantly clear to me that he wasn't a serious person, because he started off in his opening statements. I know a lot of people didn't watch that debate because it was so grating. They turned it off after a few minutes. I think Reese said you turned it off after
myself included. Maybe I'll try to go back and see it.
I'm not going to recap the debate, but just to give you an idea, just to tease it, if you want to take a look at how bad it was. In the opening statements, he starts by talking about how nukes are so vastly insane and so vastly powerful that we as humans don't even really comprehend them yet and how they work. We don't even appreciate the magnitude of it yet. And to see Kevin suggesting their use in warfare is it's unconscionable. I've never seen anybody as insane as him. And it goes to me, and I respond, I'm just like, okay, so this is funny because nuclear weapons are actually one of the few things that humans have a vast degree of study on. I mean, and I went through it and I said, look, even low yield tests had up to 400-page write-ups on their effects, their yield calculations, all this kind of stuff. A lot of it is declassified right now. You can look up the Tanana shot of, I believe it was Operation Dominic. It was a small test. You watch it, it's like 1 second of light and then it goes dark again. That has like a 400-page write-up on it, all the radiation dispersal, all that kind of stuff and everything. My point was that actually we understand more about how nuclear weapons work and their effects today than almost anything in science. I mean, they've been extensively studied. A lot of medical and information technology developments have come out of the nuclear testing, a lot of advancements in these industries. Consider this. We know far more about the effects of a nuclear weapon. It's far more predictable than we know about most of the ocean, what lies under the water. Consider that. We know way more about what happens when any size yield nuke goes off within a 50 megaton range than we know about the underwater biology, underwater geography. We don't really know the oceans that well. We know nukes incredibly well. They've been incredibly well studied. Some of those nuclear tests, even some of those smaller yield ones, employed over 2,000 cameras to document their effects for one explosion. Like, we're talking teams of upwards of 100,000 personnel and scientists to analyze their effects. Oh, but we can't comprehend them, man. And you know what his cope was after that? I'll wrap up by saying you can watch the rest of the debate. He said, because I said to him, I'm like, no, actually, we understand very well. And I said, if you give, we're at the point right now, if you give an average person 20 minutes to play around with Nuke Map, they would understand pretty well the effects of a 10 kiloton device going off in their city. It's huge, but it's not infinite. They would understand the boundaries of it, the rough thresholds, the different pressure ranges, fireball, that kind of stuff, some of the fault dispersal that could be expected, even some basic safety preparations, that kind of thing, safety protocol, they would understand. they would actually understand all that affects. It's bad, but it's not the end of the world per se. If you're outside the fireball and the 20 plus PSI range, you're probably going to survive. And so the question is, you might die from fallout. What do you do, right? Most people could understand what they could do with 20 minutes of playing around with that app. And you know what he says to me? He says, yeah, but those are just numbers. You don't really get it. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, you manage nuclear reactors. You have to be a numbers guy. What do you mean? So if I can't see it and feel it with my own hands, it can't exist. Like, just because I can't see and count every particle of radiation, I guess I don't understand it, man. I guess I don't understand it, man. Which, by the way, where's the line then? What if a 10 gram stick of TNT goes off? Hey, man, that's 10 grams, man. You can't comprehend that, man. That's a big number, man. Where's the line?
Tide goes in, tide goes out. You can't explain that, man.
But you know you've won the debate. I knew I won the debate in a few minutes because once he said to me, those are just numbers, I was like, I've won. Because you can't do that in a debate. If somebody, like, you don't even have to be a rocket scientist or anything. If somebody presents to you the numbers and you say, those are just numbers, you don't really comprehend that, you fucking lost. You have no hope at that point of winning the debate. It's over. It's literally over. You can't dismiss empirical data as just numbers. Those are just numbers. What's that supposed to mean? Like, let's say that you go for a medical checkup and the doctor tells you, hey, look, unless you start working out right now, you have a 45% chance of dying from morbid obesity in the next 10 years. And you say, those are just numbers. I don't really think you comprehend it, bro. And I guess the doctor would say, I guess you're right. I'm a fit dude and you're 400 pounds. So good luck, bro. I guess that's what we're supposed to do now. Numbers are just, those are just numbers. So I said at the post show, I said we got new memes out of that. Those are just numbers is a new meme. Now, the reason why it might not become that much of a meme here is that most people stopped watching that debate. Not very many people saw it. It was late. People were irritated by him. People stopped watching. He was so grating. It was like the capitalist neocon thing. So I have to deliver for you and recap the memes. Those are just numbers after I spent 2 minutes explaining a lot of the data and stuff around this. Bro, you got to be fucking kidding me, dude. How does this guy spend 3 years studying to manage a nuclear reactor, and he's going to come and debate me and school me on nuclear warfare? And his retort to me saying, well, actually, humans do understand some things about nuclear weapons, is those are just numbers. You got to be like, I can't get over that. That might be one of the dumbest things anybody said to me in the entire saga of coming up on 40 debates. Like, because you've seen a lot of these debates. That's not even hyperbole. You've seen a lot of these debates. Don't get me wrong. FBI agents lurking and jerking in the woods had to be one of the dumbest from Daniel Black. Afghan War for Feminisms had to be one of the dumbest from him. Rothbard PDFs was super dumb from Unironic ANCAP. No. Actually, that was Keith Knight. That was Keith Knight.
You gotta give credit, man. You gotta give credit.
Those are just numbers, but those are just numbers. Come on, that has to be one of the dumbest moments. That has to be one of the dumbest moments. I might have to upload that as a standalone clip. It was too funny. It was too funny. And afterwards, he was coping by saying, oh, yeah, this is just a game to you. You just do this to, like, laugh and own people epic style and everything. And I'm just thinking, like, dude, you didn't have to debate me. You chose to come in the ring. You could have just been another million dude on Twitter. But instead, you come here and decide to be my 40th debater or whatever the hell. So, of course, I do a post show on everybody. Yeah, oh, it's just a game. Oh, this is about winning for you. Well, yeah, because the effects of what it meant that I won was your position is dumb and not true, and my position is based. Basically, the summarization of it was that my position was based and his position was cringe. But I gotta say, I was nervous going into that debate. Like, you guys would know, like, in the chat, I was like, look, it's 6 hours out. I haven't done any research. Can you guys please send me sources? Can you guys please send me sources on why my position is based and my opponent's position is cringe? Because I haven't done any research. We're going to be debating about nuclear war in North Korea. I've never done this before. I need you guys to send me some sources on why my position is good and his is bad. And And it was so, you guys were so embarrassing in the hockey chat. Like, I love you guys, but you guys really fucking dropped the ball because 5 hours go by and I haven't done any research. Like, I'm too lazy to do research. And I DM Reese and I'm just like, where are those sources, bro? I need those sources, bro. And Reese didn't have them yet. And I was like, so I tried talking with Dragon Razed to ask him for sources, because I'm like, who else are you going to ask when you haven't done your research for debate on North Korean nuclear weapons and the debate's in 6 hours? Who else are you going to ask? So of course you're going to ask Dragon Razed to send you sources for why your position is based and your opponent's position is unreasonable. It turned out none of you guys delivered for me. Dragon never even got back to me. I DM'd Ali about it, and he said also that he had a debate in 6 hours on North Korean nuclear weapons, and he hadn't done any research either. He was also waiting for Dragon. We were both waiting for Dragon for 6 hours, and Dragon never got back to us. Now, he doesn't talk with Reese. I talked to Reese. I asked for Reese for help too. You guys never sent me any sources. I didn't do any research before that debate, man. So, by the way, this might be an inside joke. This might be implying that somebody else didn't do any research, but we'll see.
Oh man!
Oh wait! He's gone now. They found out. It's all over. We can actually say it now. Ali didn't do any research before his debate with me.
That's right.
6 hours beforehand, he had to ask Dragon to send him sources for why my position. Yeah, that's Dragon Raw Z, by the way. The guy that you might remember who was on my stream once, walking around in circles, who said, "Hey, Kevin, you ever hear of Tyson Dyson? Andrew Gillum? Florida Meth? Hey, Reese, you ever heard of Tyson Dyson?"
Yeah, I have, man.
I have, man. No, dude, I think a lot of us are familiar with Tyson Dyson after that. Hey, you ever heard of neoconservatism, Big Charlie? Ever heard of neoconservatism?
No, man. Never heard of it.
I never heard of it.
First time.
No, I think Neil Konosuke was just like, yeah, I have. Like, he's Neil Konosuke. Okay, whatever. Like, I seriously wonder if Dragon knows what the neocon is short for, Neokonosuke. Because it's short for neoconservatism, but I wonder if he ever put that together. Anyway.
Maybe he didn't. Oh,
no, maybe he thinks neocon is something else. Like it's something different. Kind of like how a truck is different from a train. Neocon is different from a neoconservative, but...
Bro.
So, yeah, no, basically, that debate that I did with Ali didn't do any research, said, can any of you guys send me sources? For why Kevin's position is unreasonable? We scheduled this debate like 2 weeks in advance. He watched my debate with Dylan Burns a year ago. It took him until 6 hours to be like, hey guys, I haven't done any research. Can you guys send me something for why Kevin's wrong? It raises the question, why challenge me to a debate if you don't know why I'm wrong? Oh, but I'm Kevin Castley. That's why you have to debate me, because I must be wrong. Right?
It's almost like it's all about ego and personality.
It's almost like it's all about contrarianism. So I have a theory about that debate before we get into the rest of the analysis for the Hippy Dippy show. I have a theory. When I asked him what he would do about communist China, and he gave about a minute-long response of a bunch of stuff, and I'm just like, whoa, that's a lot of things, and I agree with all those. Wow, we actually agree on this. I guarantee you, if I went first and said all those things, and then I said to him, what do you want to do about it? He'd be like, no, arming Taiwan and having a presence in Taiwan, that could start a nuclear war with China. That's insane. He'd just be a contrarian little bitch, so. Sad.
That is a wonderful inside joke. And, eventually I will see.
Serious. By the way, I'm actually serious, though. Like, no jokes, no memes. I actually didn't do any research for that debate, so.
No, because when it comes to the North Korea issue, you've already debated it. What's the point of doing more research?
I've done that debate 4 times, but that was the first time anybody said to me. Burns never said it. Obviously, did I say Carl Frank? No, we didn't debate North Korea. We debated other stuff. And and he deleted all of his videos. Lame, even though people are saying that he would own me. It's like, then why did he delete all of his videos? Whatever. The dude who looks like a fish, what's his name?
Carl Fleury.
Carl Fleury and I debated this. Ali and I debated this.
Ugh.
And then Space Hosh was round 4 of the same debate on nukes on North Korea. None of the other dudes ever said those are just numbers, bro. That may be the dumbest moment from all. I don't know. I mean, there were a lot of dumb moments.
Hey, there you go. You got your highlight clip, man.
No, I really think, by the way, out of Carl Fleury, out of Space Hosh, out of Dylan Burns, and out of the other one, I literally just the other one. Oops.
Allie.
Oh, Allie. Out of all them, not even close. Dylan Burns, even in his early days of debating, put the rest of them to shame. He was the best opponent I've had on that issue, and he lost. So, like, Ollie was nowhere near close. Ollie was just a meme. He's just like, you lost to Dylan Burns. It's like, okay, whatever. I didn't.
You lost to Dylan Burns. You lost to Dylan Burns. You lost to Dylan Burns.
You lost to Dylan Burns. You lost to Dylan Burns. You lost to Dylan Burns. You lost to Dylan Burns. You lost to Dylan Burns. By the way, them afterwards, because we did a post show here where I got a spoiler alert, guys. That was actually Neil that came on pretending to be Ollie, the silver parrot or whatever. They talked about how actually, like, they thought that was Ollie. Like, what a bunch of idiots. No, I got news for the fan club. I got news to the fan club. We actually didn't think that was Ali. That was just a comedy bit, guys. So
no, we actually. What? You're telling me that wasn't him?
Well, that's what I said afterwards. I'm like, wait, I thought that was Ali. Guys, they have a worse sarcasm detector than this guy debating Destiny, bro. Their sarcasm detector,
there's no excuse not to know.
Their sarcasm detector was made in China. So
there's no excuse, because when I'm talking to fake Ali, I was kind of like, I was joking around with him, because obviously it was Neil.
Well, no, you were joking around with the real Ali. But we got punked because we didn't realize that wasn't the real Ali.
But the problem, if I was talking to the real Ali, do you think I would be having some cordial, some fun little jazz? No, it would be blood sports, like it was the one time we actually talked. So no,
it was literally blood sports. That debate has like 1,000 views on a channel of 150 subs. That debate,
people loved our energy.
People like, okay, so when Brittany and Todd interviewed me a few days ago on Politically Provoked, they asked me, they're like, so we do a lot of debates here. Are you okay with blood sports, or do you just prefer more? And I'm just like, wait, I dominate blood sports, like,
dominated.
Now, can you imagine Haz and I do blood sports on there tomorrow night? Like, because he wants to come on there and probably like dominate some people. He's probably expecting like easy Nazis to own, and it's going to be me. And I'm going to be like, hi, Haz. Been dodging that debate for 6 months. How's it going? It'd be like, what's he going to do? What's he going to do at that point? Be like, I can't debate you. That would be emasculating. Is he going to say that? Because that would be emasculating if he says that. So, what-oh. No, I'm going to make sure to show up first tomorrow. So we'll see. And if he shows up first too, maybe they bring on all the panelists at once. And it's like, oh, Haz is here. Hi, Haz. He'll be like,
make it happen, somebody.
Immediate blood sports. They won't even get to introduce the stream. He'll just be like, so you're one of these neo-cockler conservatives. And I'll just be like, oh, you're the lolcow that everybody just does memes about and thinks is a clown. Cool. So. So let's move on to the next segment. The next segment was Gavin Newsom And there's a very key point here. I have a feeling that this one's going to be a little bit shorter because a large part of what came up in that discussion, it is part of the no issue that we can't talk about. So
Exactly.
things that you put around your face that we can't talk about, things that go in your arm that we can't talk about, and the paranoia around that we can't talk about. But we can talk about China. So
yeah, we'll call them. We'll use some keywords. You know, we'll say the no issue like we usually do. We'll say face coverings, and we can say injection.
we can't. We're actually not even going to do that. We actually can't do that. We're not even going to go there. We're not even going to go.
Then I'm gonna make it real quick before you get on your point about infrastructure, because that was basically my point on this. Was that is at the core of this, and that makes this a pretty quick debate. Basically, the whole thing now is there's been a recall for Gavin Newsom, and there's going to be a vote on whether or not he can remain governor of California. And one of the people who they're positioning to replace him is conservative Larry Elder. Now, a big problem with that is the reason why they're recalling him is because of the no issue, because of hypocrisy around the no issue. But and people are going to be like, "What are you talking about?" Look, we can't talk about it. Okay, we can't talk about it. It violates TOS.
We can't even talk about what we can't talk about. We can't even say what we can't talk about. I'll say this: it's a no issue that's affected everybody's lives now for a year and a half. So
there you go. We can't talk about it, but what I will say is the reason why I would, oppose and generally not care about pursuing a recall is because Gavin Newsom, say what you will about him, they're bringing up all these other things like the homelessness in California, like totally irrelevant to, the practicality of the situation we're in, quite frankly. But Gavin Newsom believes in combating the no issue. His opponents, like Larry Elder, do not. They're actually, pretty embarrassing on that front. So just based on that alone, given the time we're in, given the situations that we have to deal with, I don't support removing Gavin Newsom from power. Even if he was a hypocrite, I actually don't give a shit that he was a hypocrite. It doesn't matter to me. Now we can talk about the infrastructure front. Actually, that was more related to the third topic in terms of China.
Well,
you brought up China.
Was one thing that was brought up
China
about China
in both issues, but again, that relates to the no issue as well.
Well, they freaked out about it because they talked about that as like, are you serious? Like, you're going to go that hysterical route? They're like, you don't need to say that Republicans might be paid or whatever, all this stuff to say that they're bad. And I'm just like, I'm trying to make a point here. Obviously, we have to talk about this. It's like, because keep in mind, the reason why those guys think Republicans is bad is a little different than why I think Republicans are bad these days. The reason why they think Republicans are bad is because Republicans support liberal capitalism. The reason why I think Republicans are bad these days is because they've shilled for Trump and they've been weak on the countries that they, traditionally speaking, were stronger in their rhetoric on. But yeah, so not to mention social issue stuff, but obviously, that's the thing. I'm such a foreign policy channel. I forgot about their social. I forgot about abortion. They're also bad on abortion and stuff. But that's why it was funny that I got invited on here tonight. Thanks to Dylan for inviting me. I'm just surprised he invited me for this because I never talk about this stuff. But
every now and then, man, he likes to spice it up. He likes a diverse panel. He actually is willing to put his money where his mouth is, so you can say that much.
Oh, but YouTube aren't willing to put their money or his money basically where he is, because he had a post today talking about how a few of his videos were demonetized, how there was a copyright strike on his one on Ben Shapiro and all this kind of crap and everything. And it's like, one, I saw part of that video. I believe it was the Ben Shapiro one. No, it might have been the Tucker Carlson one. I saw his Tucker Carlson thing. That was fair use. And literally everything that he was doing in there was responding to something else, which is covered by fair use. No, YouTube demonetized a bunch of his stuff, basically. I can't get over how YouTube just treats like trash those people that made them big to begin with. Unbelievable. Like they'd literally be nothing. They wouldn't even have Kiwis without the content creators. And that's how they treat them. You gotta be fucking kidding me, dude. Like, I mean,
is it really that surprising though?
We talked about that with Henry before too. Just how little YouTube actually cares about the people that make them what they are. It's insane. So,
yeah, no, and that's going to be a perpetual problem. And I mean, we even see that with the no issue. We talked about that. This is one of the most important issues facing humanity.
Like, it's so.
And we can't talk about
I just want to say on the YouTube thing, it's so bad. People say, "Well, that's like any company. Any company can treat their employees like garbage or whatever," and this kind of stuff. Not really. Not really. This is a little different. The relationship between content creators and YouTube is not like a boss and employees. It's more like a company that sells things and the vendors that provide the things for them to sell. If you treat your vendors like shit, you might not have any stock to supply anymore for people to buy. So who actually dominates that relationship? I'll tell you this, if all the content creators left YouTube would not be around anymore. And you can say that about employees too. Well, if all the employees left or whatever, they wouldn't be around anymore. No, but it's a little bit different because those employees still need a job, right? And so they'll have to go back somewhere, or they'll have to go somewhere else, and they might have to go somewhere else, which might also have an abusive relationship towards them. That's not true with content creators. We could actually start a platform that respected content creators that everybody could go to, and nobody would go back to YouTube. Whereas if you leave one job because you don't like it, you might have another job that you don't like or whatever. I don't know. I don't think it's an analogous relationship. I think YouTube is more like the employee in this situation. YouTube is dependent on the content creators. But I don't know. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I largely agree. I think that a lot of people have just grown to accept it because they think an alternative would be hard. There'd be no guarantee that you'd be able to, have the bandwidth or get people monetized or anything like that. But push comes to shove for a lot of people to seek out alternatives. Unfortunately, a lot of people who are spearheading the alternatives right now are our political opponents.
They're fascists, man.
Are deep like Glenn Greenwald types. So
or worse, Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes types D-Live.
One of the big, yeah, he's obviously over on D-Live, which kind of got infested him. But for Glenn Greenwald and Tulsi Gabbard and some of these other people, they've spearheaded a new platform. I believe it's called Rumble, something like that.
Oh, that's right. She was shilling for that the other day on Twitter, and I was just like, "It's Tanky Tulsi." It's a
YouTube alternative, essentially. So that's what's going on there. And their whole thing, again, this is a common tactic of people that we come to blows with. They will try to portray themselves as being extremely more moderate than they actually are. And Tulsi Gabbard's thing was going on about how, I may not agree with what you have to say, but, by God, soldiers died for your right to say it, and I support your right to say what you believe. And so a lot of people who are unfamiliar with, this is a mouthpiece for the Syrian regime, they might not know. So this might be their first interaction with Tulsi, and they're thinking, oh, this woman is based. She supports my free speech. She supports me, even if she disagrees with me. That's awesome. And that's how they reel you in, man. That's how it works. But then you realize, oh, wait a minute. This is somebody who does. So their whole thing is my free speech. They're talking about the authoritarianism of big tech. That's Glenn Greenwald's big thing. He did a video about it in the Washington Post. These are people who do apologetics for the Kremlin. These are people who do apologetics for Assad. Oh, but they're talking about big tech and how authoritarian it is. Get the fuck out of here. Unbelievable. Yeah, that's so authoritarian. No. I'll show you authoritarian. It's a joke, man. Fuck that shit. I'm so sick of them. I'm so sick, and I'm even more than them. I can't even be mad at them necessarily all the time because they're taking advantage of stupid people who should know better. Stupid people who should take 5 minutes to educate themselves on the people that they're fully trusting, and not questioning once what their motivations are. And they fall for it. And they'll be like, well, yeah, no, we support free speech. What? Do you not support free speech? Why would you take issue with Tulsi? She's the good one, man. She's the good Democrat, man. It's just, it's so ridiculous. Those are the narratives that people those are the narratives that gain traction. And I find that so deeply frustrating. If you walked away from the last primary thinking that Tulsi Gabbard was the reasonable candidate, I don't even know what to say to you. Like, you weren't even listening.
You're out of your mind. Arthur has that meme about her where it's like Hillary Clinton saying one of these candidates is A, and then it's Tulsi with the angry Wojak face. I'm not a Russian asset. She's such a joke. She's such a joke. She knows she's guilty too. It's so great.
That's like we were saying that she's gonna be on RT. Somehow I think that being part of the Greenwald posse is even more humiliating. Like, oh yeah, at least RT is, you'd be, I guess, being paid. You would be, people would be like, yeah, you're a journalist, you're on TV. But for this, it's like, what are you, like, basically she's just devolved into being an edgelord. That's what she's doing.
Yeah.
And it's lame.
Richard Nixon missed the debate, which, I haven't actually heard much from Richard Nixon in a long time, like a few decades, but yeah, he missed the debate. Let's try to catch Richard Nixon, former president.
Oh man, Tricky Dick, you have missed a lot, my friend.
Oh man, he's got to be upset that Trump got off on the impeachment. He's like, he got off on impeachment, but I had to resign before it even went there. Oh crap.
Yeah, man. The standards were different back then, I suppose.
Except they literally were. Presidents were held to a higher account.
Yeah, they tolerated a far less corruption, it would seem.
You could get impeached for way less 30 years ago than today. Consider the fact that Bill Clinton got impeached for basically like doing the sex, as the kids would say. So
doing the sex.
Well, no, technically it was for lying. It was for lying.
Technically, it was for perjury, sir.
Technically, it was for perjury. Okay, whatever. Perjury is a little less than coordinating with the Russians or literally inciting an insurrection against the government of the United States. But okay, cool. So,
look, man, they were desperate to get him out of power. They were a very unhappy few years. In the late 90s were for Republicans, it would seem.
Amazing. We're gonna move on. Though. War Kittle's here as well. Kevin is on the wine. Yeah, we're drinking Australian wine tonight to fuck the Communist Party, and that's one thing that Dylan Burns was talking about actually in his conversation with Rob Knorr. Because Dylan Burns, he still uses the label neocon to refer to me. I prefer the term liberal unilateralist right now. But I'm not going to get triggered if somebody calls me a neocon. I'll just be like based. But he defined a neocon as somebody with like a hatred of communism. And I found that like somebody who's a hawk who hates communism specifically. And I'm just thinking, I'm like, wait, but anybody should have a healthy hatred of communism and fascism. So, okay, cool, whatever. And anybody should be a hawk. So I guess everybody should be a neocon then. But, okay, cool. So. And of course, Rob Knorr defined a neocon as somebody who does wars. So I know.
Yeah, man. That's a great definition, man.
It is funny to me, though, because most of these guys do it full time. Dylan Burns does this full time. He's a foreign policy streamer. You'd think he'd know a little bit more about the definition, but okay, whatever. I'm not even saying I'm not a neocon. I like Bill Kristol. I agree with Bill Kristol on a lot of stuff. I'm just more of a liberal version of that. I used to call myself a liberal neocon. Now I call myself a liberal unilateralist. But it is funny how it's like a spook word. It's a buzzword. It doesn't actually mean anything. Like, because that nuance doesn't matter to people. They're just like, neocon. Oh, that's somebody who loves war, right? So
Ugh.
so stupid. It's so
I wouldn't get triggered at this point if anyone called me a neocon either, quite frankly.
You've said that for a long time, actually. You don't care.
There's worse things to be called. Like a non-interventionist.
Well, Epic Dude says, I thought neocons were just people who worked at the base department. Some of the people that work at the base department are neocons. Some of them are liberal hawks too. And actually, speaking of the base department, hold on a second. Continue to entertain the audience, Reese.
Oh yeah, I believe Kevin is searching for a meme at the moment, my dudes.
Or
it's well worth it.
Or is the meme searching for me? That remains to be seen.
Who will find who first? That's the real question.
That is a really good question, That's a seriously good question. I'm just going to take a look at something right now. Something just popped up. I'm getting a text message right now. Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
I get you.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Hold on a second. Can you guys hear that?
Yeah, man.
I'm actually getting a call right now. No, it's not Adam.
What? Not the fan club?
It's not the fan club. It's coming from Langley, actually, Virginia. Do we accept or do we accept?
Oh man, such choices.
Because I gotta swipe this on my phone, man. What do we do?
It's a great question. I think I'll go with accept.
Yeah, I'm gonna accept that one. Hello? Yeah, this is Kevin Castley here. Oh, you guys hate the haters and traitors too. That's based. It's based. Oh, you guys like this channel?
Yeah.
It's like this channel? Oh, that's based. That's based. So what's it like over there right now? Oh yeah, it's based. That's good. It's good. Well, thanks. I'll let Spooky Nukies know about that. And keep on rocking in the free world and give the Iranians hell. Peace. Yeah, I just got off the phone with the base department. They said that I killed it on Dylan Burns. They said that Spooky Nuki's channel was absolutely spook-pilled, and if he ever wants to go and work for the CIA, they've got a job offer for him. So.
Oh wow, that's very generous.
That's right. Now specifically, that was the base department. So the CIA does their spy stuff, but yeah, that's the base department. So.
Base, man, real base stuff right there.
No, I know. Well, yeah. When is it not epic if the base department gives you a call? Like seriously. Well, like, what are you even supposed to do? What are you even supposed to do? Because like, who all was there? Yeah, Bill Crystal. It's Spooky Nukies. That was pretty based. It's pretty based, right? So
this is based.
This is based. And they're like, yes, we are. That's literally our department title. So.
Oh man.
By the way, we have another meme. By the way, that was actually made by Mass Creation Broadcast, so you can go and subscribe to him and follow him on Twitter. He also made a meme. We're gonna take a look at the meme. He made this today. The lib left neocon. No child labor or free press, religious freedom, gun rights, capitalism, egalitarianism, free speech, political accountability, offensive realism, and gay marriage. You're damn right I'd kill for this country. Made by the Hawk Gang. And yes, they literally have pet hawks at the base department, like just in their office. So that's the chirping you hear there. So
You're damn right I'd kill for this country.
this guy lives at the base department. That guy was actually the one you heard on the phone there. So.
The one and only.
And this was a selfie of me from earlier this evening before the Hippy Dippy show.
Just chilling.
Just chilling. Just flying like a drone. I'm in my flipping zone, man. Okay, let's flip and go. Let's flip and go. What was the third topic? It was the infrastructures, right?
That's right. The infrastructure.
We started off with a meme. We started off with childcare equals slavery. That was funny, and I definitely made sure to come back to that. So.
What a goober, man.
I'm never going to get over how much of a goober Sparky is, because Sparky, now he wasn't as bad this time as the last one, but the last Hippy Dippy show where he and I were on together, every time he would finish making his point, he'd just go back to turning off, like mute on his mic on that stream and turning aside and looking at a different camera to talk to his stream and not hear anybody's rebuttals or any of the rest of the conversation until he's ready to chime in again and say some dumb shit. I can't believe that. And the fact, like, look, here's the thing. Dylan's a pretty good moderator. If I was going to moderate that, I would just ban that outright. I'd say if you're going to be here, you have to actually pay attention to the conversation, even when you're not talking. So.
Yeah, heaven forbid you actually listen to the points the other panelists are making.
There are 7 other panelists. How are you just going to mute everybody else and then chime in when you're ready to speak? It's so
that's
stupid.
It's a level of confidence that actually no one should have in their own ability to be right and engage in the conversation.
Dunning-Kruger. It literally is what Dunning-Kruger talked about. So the idea that you're too stupid to know you're stupid, so you have a high confidence and you think you're right because you're too dumb to know you're wrong. And if you were slightly smarter, you would be smart enough to know you were wrong, you would shut up. Or if you're on my end and you know you're right and you're smart enough to know you're right, then you talk all the time too. So it's like that meme of the epic handshake. It's like dumb as shit, epic base genius talking all the time. That's the meme. That's the Dunning-Kruger effect right there. Arthur's bird watching right now. I guess birds bird watch, but Arthur's a hawk and he's watching other birds. So.
Feels pornographic, to be honest.
Almost voyeuristic, maybe. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I guess everybody watches birds now and then, right? Unless you're Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes wants to ban bird watching. Well, actually, he's not a hawk, so I guess that wouldn't be porn to him. But okay.
Everybody loves New York.
Except for Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes actually wants to work with the Russians and Chinese and Iranians to destroy America. So.
Oof.
Yeah, because there's libs. He heard that there were libs in America. So.
Man, that guy sounds like a real goofball.
Yeah, Hawk Hub. That's the bird watching site where like 30% of the internet is. Okay. So infrastructure. Reese, do you like infrastructure? I like infrastructure.
No. It's trash, man. We should get rid of it.
So that most of the discussion was basically should have done more. Really, the only interesting thing tonight was kind of about the child care equals slavery, and then child tax credits pissed off a lot of people. They're like, no. But like, conservatives agree with us on this. I'm like, yeah, and they're wrong. They also agree with you guys on Afghanistan, and they're wrong. So,
Oh,
and then Hans was like,
no one appreciated you bringing up Afghanistan.
no, but Hans was like, hey, look, I agree with you to the libertarian. He's like, I agree with you about the populism and like Afghanistan and stuff. I'm just like, I know. Like, that's not impressive. That's not remarkable. Like, I'm sure Hans was probably like, wow, I agree with a libertarian here. It's like, yeah, and I debate libertarians often, and they all want to surrender to the Taliban. So, okay.
I thought he was saying that he agreed with you on Afghanistan.
What? Oh, if that's true,
I don't know why I took away that impression, but I really thought that was what he meant.
If that's true, I take it back. Then he's based. He's not cringe. I thought he was agreeing with the libertarian, in which case he'd be cringe. But no, if he agreed with me, then he's based. So
the thing is, he said that right after you talked. So I really think he was talking about you.
No, I thought it was after the libertarian talk. I'll watch it again, like that segment tomorrow, I guess. But wow, if he was agreeing with me, oh man, he's gonna get a lot of shit from his base if he was agreeing with me, because they're gonna do to him what they did to Xandertal.
Is he tall?
I don't actually. Here's the thing: I don't actually know if he's tall. Like, if we brought up that picture of, okay, you've got short for Tim Pool, medium size for Vosh, and tall for Charlie Kirk. Is Xander with Charlie Kirk? Like, could we just say Xander Kirk? Or is he going to be Xander Small, like Tim Pool? Xander Pool.
Xander Small. Somebody needs to take his profile picture and say Xander Tall, and then like scrunch it up, Xander Small.
Yes, and have it be like one of those like frustrated Pepes, kind of like, you know. Speaking of which, awesome. We know somebody who's short, who's immensely frustrated and angry and sad. So he also wants to kill dogs. So.
Oh, that's Neocon Azuka.
Oh, wait, we're naming names. We're naming names right now. Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's how we do it. That's how we do it on this show, man. We name names.
Naming names. Named. Just got named. Okay. So
you just got named, bro.
I can't get over the idea that, oh, what do you mean perverse incentives, all that kind of stuff. Like, because I gotta say, I think Philosophy Perspectives was the smartest guy there on the panel, besides me, I think is fair to say. But even he was like, oh, no, what do you mean perverse incentives? We're just trying to help people that already have kids. Yeah, except here's the problem. There are a million different ways that you could structure a tax benefit or a tax credit to benefit people who are poor or middle class. Specifically doing it because they have kids, that's kind of an incentive to have kids to people that don't. You're kind of lowering the cost of having kids, but not lowering it so much. But mind you, not lowering it so much that now they've got a great opportunity. Rather, my point was, if you're in an income bracket where that tax credit would make an actual difference to your budget, like $3,600 or something, what was it? Like, if that makes a difference to your budget, you can't afford to have kids. Like, what was it again? Was it $3,600 a year? What was it? Because that's not that much money. If that makes a difference to you, you can't have kids. That's like saying, man, should I buy this Lamborghini? Should I buy this Lamborghini? And then you're like, ooh, gas is $1.80 a liter right now. I guess I can't afford the Lamborghini. Bro, if you can't afford the gas, you can't afford the Lamborghini. So if you can't, like, if the tax credit makes a difference to you, you can't afford kids. So that's my attitude.
So to go over the specifics for the infrastructure bill, it's $3,600 for children under 6, and it's $3,000 per child between 6 and 17.
But that's per year. That's not per month, right?
Let me see.
That has to be a per year thing.
Yeah, no. That I would be immensely surprised if that were per month.
No, so if it's a per year thing, we're talking about 3% of your pre-tax income if you're at an income level where you can start considering to have kids responsibly. And by the way, people were saying, oh, that's eugenics, what I was suggesting. I'm not suggesting the government force anybody from having kids. All that I was saying was I don't think that the government should be encouraging people that shouldn't be having kids yet from having kids yet. It's not to say, oh, I'm going to ban these people from having kids. You can do what you want. I'm just saying we're better off poverty-wise, crime rate-wise, those kids-wise, not bringing people into the world until they're in a family that wants them and can afford them and give them the best opportunities possible. So for me, I set that line at about $100,000 a year. So if you make $100,000 a year, $3,000 is a noticeable amount of money, but it's not that noticeable. If you make $30,000 a year, it's a lot of money. If you make $30,000 a year, you can't have kids. That is reckless. If you have kids and you make less than $100,000 a year, you did something wrong. And that's not me being some inhuman cyberpunk CEO porky meme. That's me actually caring about the well-being of the kids that you're going to bring into the world. So there you go. But what you make about that? Like, I know 100,000, it's like, oh, that's a lot of money. Except not. That will just about pay your rent in San Francisco. So, you know.
Yeah, it really it depends on the situation you're in a lot of ways. It depends on where you're living. I'm trying to find.
Yeah, I guess I should clarify here. I live in Victoria. Victoria, I guess, is a pretty wealthy place. Like the average house here is about $800,000 roughly, or like the cheapest house in the city is about $700,000. The average is more than that, obviously. Like basically, you need to have $1 million in order to afford a house. Never mind anything else here. I say $100,000 for a single person to afford to have a kid. If you live somewhere cheaper, if you live in New Brunswick, maybe you could get by at $60,000. Maybe if you live in Mississippi, maybe you could get by at $50,000 American or $40,000 American.
At the very least, don't be impoverished. Like but that's what's being suggested. So I'm trying to find if this is monthly or annual, but I do believe that it's probably annual. I would be shocked if that was a monthly deposit, but somebody in the chat may be able to clarify.
There's no way it's monthly. That would be the average American salary at the median per year, $36,000 a year. There's no way. There's no way.
No. So the thing about this, I found
a month.
The points that they were bringing up were some of the most infuriating of the night, where they were accusing you of being in favor of eugenics. They were.
Well, no, they didn't say eugenics. The chat said eugenics. Nobody on the panel I heard said
that was said in the chat. But what they did say on the panel was, and it might have been said somewhat facetiously, but they were saying, "Oh, what do you want to round up poor people and shoot them?"
Yeah, Hans said that was a joke, but I don't. I don't like the joke
thing
about
is,
it.
Once the implication has been made, I don't buy that.
Because I'm actually
like
trying to help poor people. Like, I don't know if these people realize this. I make basically minimum wage. Most everybody I know is poor. I'm concerned with helping people that are poor, obviously, and I think that for a lot of people, once you have kids, it's incredibly difficult to get out of that, and now your kids are in that cycle. And so, like for me, I put all my energy into streaming and building up my content and everything here, and I decided I didn't want to go into money lending. That's what I trained to do. I don't want to do that. I don't want to pawn off debt on people. If I was a banker right now, 2 years in, I'd be making like probably $40 an hour right now instead of like $16 an hour. But I couldn't live with myself then. Like, because as far as I'm concerned, the debt crisis is a security issue. So at this point, I'm basically just figuring out what I want to do next as I'm running this channel. But the channel's always like the long-term goal within 10 or 15 years to do this full time. Because I don't actually care about money. But I'm not planning on having kids. If I was planning on having kids, I couldn't do this because this doesn't pay enough to have kids. So, you know.
I feel
if you're going to have kids, you have to make like $100,000 a year in Victoria minimum. Now, again, look, but here's the thing. Victoria is cheaper to live in than a lot of US cities. If you live in San Francisco, 100,000 Canadian will not pay your rent in a lot of places. So you have to make a lot more than 100,000 Canadian to have kids in San Francisco. Like you basically need to be 250K to give them a good opportunity if you live in San Francisco. Obviously, that's not the same as in Mississippi. I guess the point that I'm getting at there is you need to be in about the upper 40% or so in order to afford to give your kids a proper education, proper food, have everything as normal anyway to fund yourself and your living and everything else, and have fun. Like, it's just not something that unless you make, and like, again, this is kind of hard to put into perspective. What I'm going to do, I'm going to bring up a comparison, a cost of living comparison, cost of living by city, and see what 100K here works out to in San Francisco. Because I guess a lot of the Americans in the audience would relate to
we relate to American numbers.
Yeah, you guys relate to America. You're like, Victoria, what's that? Is that place in Texas? Because
I knew a girl named Victoria once.
That's right. Yeah. We're going to compare San Francisco. We're going to say, what is it?
Hey, man.
Okay, so consumer prices in San Fran are 25% higher than Victoria without rent. Oh, but when we factor in rent, consumer prices including rent in San Francisco are 72.46% higher than in Victoria. Okay, so if we assume your rent here is like, say, half or 2/3 of your income there, if you live in San Francisco, you need to make $140,000 a year to have kids. Let's just say that before you can think about having kids.
Hey,
now a lot of people that live there do. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people that live there do, and some of them might spend their money on dumb shit. That's the other thing. You also have to not be in debt. Like a lot of the people that call into Dave Ramsey with like $400,000 in debt, they might have a high salary, but they also have a shit ton of debt. I forgot to mention that if you have debt, don't bring kids into the world as well. That's another thing. So.
Look, man, those are just numbers.
But Dave Ramsey won't say that. By the way, I go further than Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey will never tell people don't have kids or don't get married or anything if you're in debt or if you got all this stuff. He says, oh, congratulations and stuff too. Why? Because he's a Christian. He's like a Christian dominionist. Doesn't mean he's not right on a ton of his finance stuff, but he's also ideological. I still watch him, but he's wrong about that. And his motivation is, well, you'll find a way. But my point is, it'd be easier if you didn't have kids in the first place to get financially ahead. But whatever.
It's a deeply frustrating debate. I'm surprised to see this amount of misunderstanding and disingenuous, self-righteous posturing. Because you'll bring up other points, like if people talk about abortion in urban in the urban areas or inner cities or whatever. Oftentimes, you'll hear a talking point from fervent pro-lifers where they'll say, actually, Planned Parenthood is racist because look at all these black abortions.
God.
But the point I've always made in response to that is like, really? So we're talking about communities that, in general have a problem with single parenthood. But so you want to introduce more unwanted children to that equation. Okay. That's irresponsible. So you can make that point. And I would think that if you made the point in such a way that it were coming from a pro-choice angle, a lot of these more left-leaning people would understand. They would understand the practicality of that point. But the completely hysterical, you're promoting eugenics. Like it's
their point was that a lot of people are poor. A lot of people are poor. And I look at that and I'm just like, yeah, and they can't afford a house in the Hamptons. If you're those people, go and try buying a house in the Hamptons. You literally won't be able to because they'll say, okay, this place costs $17 million. Where's the money? And you'll say, I make $25,000 a year. How am I supposed to afford that? And they'll be like, yeah, what are you doing here? And then they'll send you away. But with kids, you don't need to file a loan application. You don't need to file a proof of income application. You can just have kids, bring them in the world, and then have them be desperate for money so they go and shoot up a 7-Eleven now. Oh, great. So fuck, man. I can't get over this. And this is the thing. This is why I think this is why people like this channel too, because yeah, it's slower growth, but the growth we get are from Chads for the most part, because those are people, whether they agree with me or not. I've had people say, they're like, look, you at least give your opinion unfiltered. That's the thing that I do. I'm not letting that slide. We could have all agreed and everything if I just let the child tax credit thing slide from those guests. No, I had to make my point about that. And if they didn't decide to respond or anything, then we could have moved on. They did decide to respond. I'm telling you, man, I am more concerned with the hundreds of thousands of future generations of people that will be born into this world than some people that are struggling today because they had kids by accident or whatever. And by the way, I'm not a social Darwinist. I'm not even opposed to giving a tax credit to those people to help them. You know what I would do? I would set a tax credit where we say, if you make under $60,000 a year or something, you're entitled to say $3,600 from the government or whatever. Why does it have to be conditional on kids? I got news. There are poor single people out there that aren't bringing future criminals into the world. So think about that.
But to get a little bit of that extra cash, you know, some people might be tempted. Oh, maybe
well, if I had some kids. No, there are welfare moms. Welfare moms are a career in Canada. That is a thing. That's not a meme. That's a thing. It's a thing. I'm willing to bet it's a thing in New York and California too. I don't know about Texas. I don't know about Mississippi. But I do know that in Canada, that is absolutely a thing. Because the child tax credits are such that the more kids you have, the more money you get. It's an incentive. Oh, take care of them. Who cares? We'll just take them to, you know, my daycare. And then we'll just take them to my Netflix and my RuneScape or whatever the fuck. Like, parents don't actually parent. I don't think people get, never mind the money. I don't think people get how much effort goes into parenting. And people might say, well, you mean I have kids and I don't spend any effort? Yeah, that's the point. If you want to bring up kids properly, that has to be your superpower broadcasting. You actually have to put a shit ton of effort into it to do it properly, right? You have to make that like your world, basically, right? So for me, I'm obviously about the hawk pill. I live in a country the same population as Afghanistan. I had the same chance of being born there and enslaved by the Taliban now. So you can bet your damn ass. Of course, I'm going to be talking about Afghanistan a lot. People say, oh, he talks about war all the time. Well, yeah, that's better than being born there and being murdered by the Taliban. This is the least I can do for people that were born in less fortunate places of the world than me. But people are like, oh, he loves war. He loves pot. People don't fucking get why I do what I do. They talk about it as if I love war. It's fucking disgraceful behavior by a bunch of fucking privileged Westerners who have never seen a war zone, never seen tyranny, never seen what living under communism looks like, never seen terror firsthand. The biggest run-in with terror and oppression that they've ever had is being told that they need to put on a garment in order to enter a restaurant so as to not spread the no-no issue. So, and yet these people are talking about how, oh, he always talks about Afghanistan. Oh yeah, why don't you go and live in Afghanistan and then come back if you can, if you survive, and then say, oh, he only talks about Afghanistan, or he talks about Afghanistan so much. You bet your damn ass I'm going to be talking about it, because nobody else is talking about this from the proper perspective besides people like John Bolton and Bill Kristol and George W. Bush. And you know what? Those people don't really stream to Twitch. So somebody has to do this. Mm-hmm. So Bill Kristol, man, if you're watching, you got to get your show on Twitch. That'd be base. You got to reach these people, man. So, yeah, anyway.
Reach the Zoomers. No, and that was
Zoomers.
It was a missed opportunity, I think, tonight to not have Afghanistan in some format be a topic.
He's going to have to talk about it next week. He's going to have to talk about it. Now, I know he said he's doing his crossover where John Zherka and him are going to be doing the panel together. So I don't actually know if that's a reference to Hawes or if it's a reference to one of his friends, Dr. Heen Doubt, who kind of looks like John Zherka a little bit. I don't know. People were saying that Hawes looks like John Zherka. I honestly thought they were like the same person. They look the same. It would be funny if it was Hawes. It might actually be the real John Zherka, which would be interesting. If they're going to talk about Afghanistan next week, though, I know I was just on, but come on, Dylan, if you're listening to this, you want a lot of views, you want a lot of drama, you want a lot of hype, you want maybe things to trend on Twitter, bring me on, man. You'll have a real debate there. So
absolutely. And we try to do our part, and just as a little tease, we do have some content relating to Afghanistan for tomorrow's show.
In fairness, too,
obviously.
Don't just bring me on. Also bring on Joe Lewis. That will be amazing. So
let Kevin fly, man. No, we're going to talk about it tomorrow, and I'm sure that you're going to have a lot of uploads related to the absolute debacle that we've been witnessing over the past few weeks.
I was planning on premiering a video on Afghanistan tonight around 11 or so for today. There was no premiere today. This post show is like almost 3 hours long, so we didn't get a premiere today. I've been on the stream game now for 7 hours, bro. So
yeah, no, people will understand needing a day off, and truthfully, it's not even really a day off because there were still plenty of content in that day. Okay, I want to get back to the child tax credit thing real quick. Here's the problem with this. The road to hell is paved with the best of intentions. And we've talked about this in regards to people like Sam Cedar, where, they will say that they have the best intentions ever, but a lot of what they advocate for creates a vicious cycle of poverty that people can never truly escape from. These are Band-Aid solutions. So that's the problem with these child tax credits. They absolutely do not fucking gaslight me. These child tax credits incentivize bringing children into the world. That is what they incentivize. Don't pretend.
If you make $30,000 a year, which is the average median American income, that's median. That's not your mean. The mean is closer to 60 because there are a lot of rich people in America. The median is $30,000 a year. If you make $30,000 a year, and now you stand to get $3,600 a year, if you have kids, well, that's about 12% of your income. Why use protection at that point?
That's already enough of a problem. We are truly, as a society, as civilized people, we are in constant battle with our own biology. And it is disgustingly easy to make new people who become new problems. And a lot of people don't have the fortitude for that. They are not nearly responsible enough for that. Oh, but you can't talk about that because it's eugenics. It's a totally worthwhile and necessary conversation.
No.
When we're talking about the raising of the next generation,
it's not even eugenics, though. Nobody's saying you have to make a certain amount to have kids. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that it should be illegal. And if anybody did say that, like Hedefax almost implied that before, I called them an elitist piece of shit. All that I'm saying is, because I believe in a free country, all I'm saying is that the government shouldn't be in the business of encouraging it. That's my point. So
yeah. But apparently that's a big problem. If you tell people what to do with their personal lives, if you tell them that the decisions that they're making are reckless and irresponsible, that's the true no issue. That's not going to go over well. But here's the thing: some people do need to be told that. It is what it is.
Well, that's the thing, though. Telling people that you can't afford to have kids is not eugenics. It's basically a strong recommendation to say, hey, look, you would be wiser to get an abortion or to use birth control, this sort of thing. And by the way, I'm all down for free abortions from the government. I'm all down for free birth control from the government. You know what I'm not down for? Free child tax credits. Because think about it. If you're somebody that could afford to bring a kid into the world properly and take care of them and everything, is that child tax credit going to make a difference to you? No, by definition, it can't. 3% of 100,000 a year, if you're like, that's not that much money. So it's some money. It's not nothing, but that's such a large amount if you make 30,000 a year that it actually does induce child rearing. And it's true. This happens in the province I live in. Like, welfare moms is a career. That's a thing. It's absolutely a thing. And if anybody's going to pretend like that's not true, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. And now, that's also true, though, in welfare state type U.S. states, California and New York being some of the more prominent ones. you probably won't have the easiest time doing that in Texas, for example. So does it mean I agree with Texas on everything? No, but it's like, does it mean that I agree with Larry Elder on everything? No, I was defending Gavin Newsom tonight. Ask me my opinion on housing regulations. I'm going to be more in line with Larry Elder. Ask me my opinion on immigration. I'm going to be more in line with Larry Elder. Ask me my opinion on homelessness. I'm going to be more in line with Larry Elder. Ask me my opinion on a lot of stuff. I'm actually going to be more in line with him. But the one issue that this was over is such a huge issue that you actually have to side. It's kind of like the foreign policy thing. Like, I could have somebody that agrees with all my economics that's an isolationist, and I would never support them because foreign policy is the issue to me. So, this is the issue. So, but yeah,
for Texas, you're not going to be much of a becoming a welfare queen in Texas is going to be a challenge.
Oh yeah, that's the meme. It's welfare queen. That's what they call them in America, as welfare queens, right? Welfare queens. That's right.
They support. The problem with Texas is that they push the other side of the problem, where now it's an extremely pro-life state, and they're pushing some fairly absurd restrictions on abortion.
On abortion. Like, they want to do secret police on abortion. They want people to rat out if you think somebody's having an abortion and give them money for informing to the government. It's nuts. And
they were pushing for 6 weeks. Like you would have to basically. A lot of people wouldn't know.
They wouldn't know. They wouldn't know. They wouldn't know. But like, let's keep it real. That policy was almost certainly proposed by a white dude who has no idea, right? So, like, how the pregnancy cycle even works. It wouldn't know. And then that's SJW comrade Kevin, I guess, right? But the thing.
True.
I don't know. Like, it's funny to me because, like, I'm so much of a liberal on stuff, and that if people were to only hear my social views, they might think I'm a social democrat or some shit. They might think I'm like a leftist or something. But then if they only hear my right-wing views, they're going to call me a neocon and all this kind of stuff. It's like, it is that awkward place. So when I hit 1,000 subs, I've said before, I'm going to redo the 700 plus question 9 axes political compass test. It's like the biggest political compass test out there. Now, it's going to be like 10 streams, a 10-part stream each day. I'm going to do it. And we're going to go through literally every question you can think of about politics, and I'm going to answer it. And what are you going to find? My guess is it's going to put me, now that's 9 different axes, but if I were to do a real political compass test, and I've done them before, a few hundred questions, you know where it puts me? Right about dead center. So does that mean I'm in the middle on everything? No, it actually means I'm like on the left on half of things and on the right on half of things. So, but you could be in the middle on everything and just have no idea and also be a centrist. In which case, I guess we'd be like having no idea or convictions on the issues, shaking hands with me, having really firm positions, half of which are left and half are right on the issues. Oh, being centrist. It's like, it doesn't actually tell you that much, being a centrist. So
balanced as all things should be.
Balanced as all things should be, because by that definition, by the way, if you were a far right fascist on social issues and a far left communist on economic issues, you'd also be a centrist by that logic. So
that's stupid, kiddo.
That's stupid, kiddo. Yeah, where's the meme? By the way, I hope John Bolton goes on the Hippy Dippy podcast one day. Can you imagine John Bolton goes there? That would be so great. Now, where is it? No. There it is. That's stupid, kiddo. Now, I don't think John Bolton would probably go, but you know who might? There's a chance at some point in the next couple of years, Bill Kristol goes off. Because he went on Bastion.
He went on Bastion. Yeah, that's right.
And they're friends. So, with Dylan. So,
I don't know if he would there's no way he'd go on for blood sports, though. Like,
no, I don't think he'd go on for blood sports. I don't know. The thing is, Bill Maher doesn't do blood sports, but he can handle himself in a debate. Did I say Bill Maher? I meant Bill Kristol. Bill Kristol schooled Bill Maher, and that wasn't blood sports, but it was about as much of blood sports as you can get on TV on like panels. I don't know. I think Bill Crystal could do some blood sports. I don't think he'd be shouting necessarily, but he would definitely say something like, "You're out of your mind, kid." You know,
that's what John Bolton said to Mehdi Hassan. He was like, "You don't know what you're talking about."
No, but he was literally correct. I love how all of the comments. I was the only pro Bolton comment in the entire thing. 100,000 views. I'm the only pro Bolton comment. Almost all were likes. Very few dislikes. I was the basically I was the only one there who said, he was actually right about that, because technically speaking, he's correct. Mehdi Hassan said, "You said," and I have the quote here, "I don't want to, what, am I going to die in a rice field in East Asia or whatever? That's why you didn't want to go to Vietnam." And John Bolton gets out his yearbook and was like, "No, I have the full quote here, Mehdi." And he reads the full quote, the context of, "I don't want to die there if the administration isn't going to commit to actually winning the war." And then Mehdi Hassan says, no, but you said this. I have it right here. It says you said you didn't want to die over there. So Mehdi Hassan absolutely 100% got schooled by John Bolton. And yet, what did all the comments talk about? They talked about, imagine being as insane and detached from reality as John Bolton. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, holy shit. I mean, I often talk about how I wish I started my channel years earlier. I missed out on so much. I should have been doing this years ago. But at the same time, I'm glad I started in 2019 instead of just now, because we have swung over a few people. We have changed a few minds. We have gotten a few people thinking about it, because we have a serious problem on the internet where you can literally be a dumbass and somebody calls you out on being a dumbass with actual evidence right then and there. And everybody's going to call the guy who just called you out the dumbass. We have a problem. We definitely have a problem, man. They thought Mehdi Hassan won, was what the audience thought. So in other words, Mehdi Hassan could say that the sky is green. John Bolton could say, "No, I have this paper here saying that it's blue," and read off the findings saying that the sky is blue. And then Mehdi Hassan would say, "No, it's green." And everybody in the chat would be like, "Did you see John Bolton? What a ghoul. What an idiot." Mehdi Hassan schooled him. I hate that. I hate that. And you notice that effect only goes to their side. Nobody says that about us. If we say some dumb shit, people are going to call us out on it. But when those guys say dumb shit,
they should.
Yeah, I know. But it's such a double standard. The Hawks are held to such a higher standard than the anti-war people. The anti-war people can literally lie, and people will be like, "Base, no, he didn't lie." But when we say anything that's in any way not 100% factually correct, immediately people are on our ass trying to correct us. I mean, I guess in that sense, that makes us better because we have fact checkers on our side that hold us to account. But I mean, come on, man. Are you kidding me? Nobody watches that. That's not a hack and thinks Mehdi Hassan won. Any neutral person who had no idea who was who there, no idea about John Bolton's career, no idea what Mehdi Hassan was about. They just watched it. They looked at that and they would say, "Oh, well, it looks like the older man showed Mehdi that he actually didn't have the full quote, and he explained to him the full quote. So I guess Mehdi next time should do his research better." That's what they would say. But nobody in Mehdi's chat said that. And you know what I think it is? Everybody who watches him isn't a first-time viewer. Or if they are, they were already exposed to people like Kyle and Jimmy. So we got a problem right now where these people literally live in a bubble where there isn't really somebody out there that's going to be on the internet watching this that is neutral, doesn't know who these people are. Everybody knows who these people are. Everybody's already formed their opinion about them. Everybody's informed their opinion that John Bolton loves to suck the blood of children, and Mehdi Hassan is a virtuous angel who can do no wrong and holds the warmongers to account. So I hate that. I absolutely hate it. And by the way, this is why we're leaving Afghanistan, is because this is where the culture's at. I guarantee it. If 50% of Americans were strongly or even just vocally in support of oh yeah, we should stay there, Joe Biden probably wouldn't have done this. He probably also would have overturned the surrender. Mm-hmm. But he got cheers when he surrendered. He got cheers from Republicans when he surrendered. So I hate this. I hate how the bipartisan agreement right now is who can be more cringe. Well, Republicans did something cringe, but then Joe Biden's like, ooh, I'm going to take that. I'm going to make it more cringe. I had some loser on Twitter today trying to cope about how, well, didn't Trump start this after Kandahar fell? And I'm just like, what a cope. You're the leader of America, and that's your excuse? Now, this wasn't Joe Biden that said this. This was one of his fans. But this is what we're going with to defend the ice cream man. That, well, Trump started it. He's the president. That's a poor excuse in middle school. How is that supposed to be an excuse when you're the president? It's his surrender. He could have said, no, we're staying. So,
that was the discourse that was trending today. Like, didn't Trump, do X, Y, and Z? And that was a big one. And
we got a question from Nick. He says, "Oh no, Kevels. Was that a dab I saw in the thumbnail? It's a dab you see on the live stream, man."
Oh, man.
Yeah, I know, right? I know, right? I mean, that's the thing, right? That's the boomer with Zoomer characteristics. So, yeah. There's the space race, and then there's the cringe race, and Joe Biden takes the cake. I mean, think about it. Think about it. I mean, it's insane to me. Even Donald Trump took about 4 years to get around to surrendering to the Taliban. Joe Biden goes in and he immediately is like, oh, let's do this. Let's make it happen. So, because think about it. He could have extended that deadline however long he wanted. And he's like, let's make it September 11th. Let's just get it over with. Sing it fast. So, I don't know.
Well, there's actually something I have to say about that. But I will say first, and I've said this before too, if I had a chance to ask Joe Biden one question, if there's a journalist, if you happen to see this stream or if you've seen me say this before on the podcast, you get a chance to ask Joe Biden a question. This is the one question you ask him. Why, when it was your goal coming into power to reverse so much of Donald Trump's agenda, why did you stick with this? Why was your reasoning for sticking with this? That Trump had already set the wheels in motion. He had already set the wheels in motion for so many other things that you were happy to overturn. Why did you stick with this? Why were 30 million people not worth fighting for? You were just too lazy. Oh, well, that would have made us look weak. It would have made us look like this makes us look weak.
30 million people, they're over there.
They're over there. They took my arms off and they threw them over there.
See, to me, that sounded synchronized. To people listening, depending on our bandwidth, maybe not. So,
that's amazing. That's the question they need to ask Joe Biden. But I will tell you this: I saw a headline recently. It was beyond parody. I thought it was so funny. So there were these families of victims of 9/11. They were organizing and they were upset at Joe Biden. And I'm thinking at first, oh, well, clearly they have to be upset.
Wait, I got to stop you. I got to stop you 1 second there. When you said you saw this headline, it was beyond parody. For a second, I thought, oh, I'm going to have to check out that publication. And then I'm like, oh, you mean the figure of speech. I look it up to see if somebody's already done it. No. That's not a paper yet. We should actually start that as like a publication where we just highlight article, or we highlight shit from the losers and the isolation. No, because you know how there's the Onion and there's all this other stuff out there, the Babylon Bee. We could have beyond parody where it's like it's not news per se, it's just highlighting takes from people where you literally can't tell if they're a Nazi or a communist. Like Space Hosh, for example, when he was fuming over Dresden, I'm just like, I'm thinking to myself, and I tweeted this out too. I'm like, even Joseph Stalin was asking Churchill and those guys, why haven't you bombed Dresden yet? Even Joseph Stalin supported the bombing of Dresden. Yet here's a communist in 2021, terribly upset that the Nazis got firebombed. You can't make this up, man. It's beyond parody. Even Stalin would be like, wait, what? We're in a war with the Nazis. Because the first part of it, he was defending the Soviet Union. He was talking about how, no. Well, if we just let the Soviet Union go into Japan, it would have turned out better and that kind of stuff. He was a fan of the Soviet Union. But then, but Dresden, horrible. I can't get over that, man. Like, does he even know that they killed 30 plus million Soviet people? Like, he has to know that. He has to know that. Like, you normally tankies and communists, that's what they talk about, is how many Russians died in the war, how many Soviets died in the war. Joseph Stalin was begging for them to bomb Dresden. He's like, why didn't you do it earlier? People talk about it as, oh, it was just civilians and stuff. That it was a strategic target. There was industry in Dresden. Dresden was actually a hub of a lot of Nazi infrastructure and stuff. Like, bombing Dresden was key to the war effort. That's something that you won't hear from Marxists today. It's funny. I can't get over how revisionist Marxists, and this guy was a history student too, Space Hosh. Revisionist Marxists will just go out of their way to defend Nazi Germany. It's incredible, man. You can't make it up. I mean, it's like seeing communists go out of their way, or no, it's like seeing Nazis go out of their way to defend the Soviets, which I don't really see. Like, there's the Nazguls, but normally fascists hate the Soviets as much as they hate the liberals. But the communists here, they honestly hate the liberals more than they hate the fascists. So,
and their hatred of the fascists is a bit dubious, shall we say?
Oh, it's a bit dubious. It's mostly like, oh, you guys just want to oppress people based on race. We want to oppress people based on class. You guys want to
get it together, man.
Yeah, they're like, you guys just want to take money from Jews. We want to take money from anybody that has money. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're basically their line to the fascists is, yeah, you know, we're a more perfected version of you. Keep up.
Well, that's their argument that they always make. You oftentimes hear this. They're like, well, at least fascism works. At least fascism can survive as a system. That's their point. Like, when you talk to fascists, I've talked with fascists and reactionaries and stuff. They usually make the point that any sort of anarchist communist system will devolve into basically what they see as like fascism. It's funny enough, a lot of those guys, normally the Nazgul types, they'll call Stalin a fascist. Like, they'll call him a communist, but they'll also say that he understood how fascism works and stuff. A lot of the more market or anarcho-communist type people, they're not necessarily mean or evil per se. They don't understand how power works, and they don't understand how power vacuums work. They don't understand how purges work, and they don't understand how power struggles work. And they don't understand that if they did the revolution, it wouldn't be people like them that would be winning. It would be people like Stalin and Hoxha that would win. And no more video games and relaxing then. Now you have to work, or it's to the gulag with you. So, I mean, I love that. They literally want to do a revolution to get out of having to work, just so that they can work in poorer conditions under a system that they have no control over. That's never not going to be funny to me, but they don't realize it. They think it would be a democracy. The Soviet Union was a democracy, I guess, in the early days. All the Soviets voted on stuff. And then Lenin consolidated power. Uh-oh. I guess we got to do what Lenin says now, or it's to the gulag. So,
SMH, man.
SMH, that's right.
I'll tell you real quick what I saw that was beyond parody. In fact,
beyond parody in the newspaper that we need to start.
Somebody should, make that a thing. But here it was. So it was families of victims of 9/11. They were upset with Joe Biden, and I was like, okay, well, I see the first part of this, and I think, well, it's got to be over the withdrawal. It has to be over. You'd be surprised. I'm thinking it has to be over the withdrawal, because he not only is he pulling out of fighting the group responsible for harboring those who committed the attack. We're just going to give up and we're going to surrender. And everything else that we've done over the last 20 years is going to have been ultimately in vain. Not to say that it wasn't good to have committed to those 20 years, but ultimately now going forward, it's in vain. And plus, he made sure he went out of his way. This wasn't Trump's idea initially. This was Biden's idea to, our withdrawal officially is going to be on 9/11. Because that's a cheery date to celebrate the withdrawal.
Man.
Totally depraved and unconscionable. So I'm thinking that's what they have to be upset about. But I actually started reading the article, And what it was talking about was there were people, conspiratorial people, they were upset that Joe Biden supposedly wouldn't release records that would vindicate them in saying that 9/11 was actually planned by Saudi Arabia.
Oh my God. Okay. I talked with Jay about this last night. We went over the Saudi did 9/11 thing, the 15 hijackers. If you say, did you know 15 of the 19, because we were talking about the anti-war people as a cliche. I'm like, one of their biggest cliches is always, well, actually, what about Saudi though? Did you know that 15 of the 19 hijackers? And by the way, I do see that we have somebody very annoying joining us tonight. We're going to bring him on in a moment. Prepare yourselves. We're going to have a lot of questions in a very small number of sentences. What we are going to talk about, though, right now, before we bring him on, is, of course, that 15 out of the 19 hijackers were Saudi, misses the fact that they were members of Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda was at war with the Saudi Arabian state. This would be the same as saying, say a bunch of ISIS guys got together in the UK and they decided that they were going to attack New York. And you found out that 15 of the 19 people that did that attack were from the United Kingdom. Would you say, and they all have like Muslim names and stuff, they all have Muslim names. Would you say Arabic names and stuff? Would you say, hey, actually, did you know 15 of the 19 hijackers were British? Probably not. But Saudi, they're Arabs. They must all be terrorists, right? These people, they can't conceive of the fact that Saudi Arabia is an Arab country at war with Al-Qaeda, which has a lot of Arabs in it. They don't get it. They're like, but they're Arabs. Saudi Arabia, it's Al-Qaeda. They don't get that. They don't get that. That's insane. That would be like saying, you know, like, I don't know. Let's say, what did I say before? Oh yeah, that would be the same. And keep in mind, Saudi Arabia and Al-Qaeda are literally at war. It's even worse. It's not just that they're both Arabs or anything. It's that they're literally at war with each other. Al-Qaeda's first enemy was Saudi Arabia. Bin Laden was exiled by the Saudi government. It would be the same as saying that, hey man, you know who's really responsible for the bombing of London during World War II that got all those people killed? The Brits, man. They're white. And then you explain to them, no, actually that was Hitler that did the Blitz. They're like, he was a European. You're like, yeah, he was a German. They were at war. They're like, no, he was a white. He was a white. He was at war.
He was one of the whites, man.
Yeah, like it would be like saying, you know who created all those rockets that hit the UK? White people. And you're like, wait, but this is supposed to be an own against the UK, so they bomb themselves because they're white? And so to us, to people that live in America and Canada, people would say, well, no, obviously Germany and the UK were at war with each other. Like, sure, they're the same race, but they were at war. We get it. But when two different Arab groups are at war with each other, hey, man, did you know 15 of the 19 of those people that are at war with this other Arab state are from that Arab state? Like, come on, dude. No, so I'm telling you right now, that's a racist meme is what it is. Like, you got to agree, right? That's racist if you say that unironically, right? Because they're at war.
No, and people say it like it's a big brain take. Like, man,
it's literally racist. It's literally implying that if you're born in Saudi Arabia and you join an organization that's at war with Saudi Arabia, it still reflects on Saudi Arabia. Nobody said that about any of those ISIS fighters that came from Canada that went over there. Nobody said that was Canada's fault. But somehow this is Saudi Arabia's fault when they were literally engaged in a war against that organization. It's 100% racism. And people are going to be like, oh, you're suing for Saudi Arabia. I'm literally stating a fact right now. I mean, well, it's crazy.
We're shilling for the truth. You know, we could have an entire stream dedicated to condemning and critiquing Saudi Arabia.
So we have somebody here tonight.
Neocon.
Yeah, so we have somebody here tonight who has written many an essay about me. Some of them took over an hour. And we have somebody here tonight who has liked many a tweet, although most of them happen to be from himself. He's here. He also likes Ray Murasame, despite agreeing with her on nothing, but I guess she owned me. So welcome to the show, Capitalist Neocorn.
Hello, Kevin. I'm here to tell you that you lost the debate against
I lost the debate?
Dylan Burns.
Wait, which debate? We're talking the North Korean one?
Yes.
Yes?
The debate about
Oh my God.
nukes.
I'm getting flashbacks to my debate with Capitalist Neocon right now.
Bro.
And
Oh, it's not over. Okay.
Oh, he's still gone. Okay, fair enough.
No, it's the same sentence. The same sentence. Why would you assume the sentence was over? He had no period.
Yeah, that's my bad. Gotta be honest.
He's still talking. He's still talking, by the way.
Oh,
sorry, but Spooky Nukies interrupted me. Can I start
I'm sorry, man.
Spooky Nukies interrupted you?
Yes.
Yes?
May I start over?
Yes? This is cringe?
Hello, Kevin.
Hello? Hello?
I'm here to tell you that you lost. I'm sorry.
I lost? It's funny?
I'm sorry, man. He said you lost.
Coughing? Wait, that's a Pokemon?
Go coughing.
Coughing. Yeah, by the way, coughing, I guess that's Assad's favorite Pokemon, right? So I know.
That is a horrendous joke.
I know. But you know, Bashar the Butcher would love coughing. He'd be like, he's just like me.
Oh.
My favorite Pokemon is Dragon Razi. That's my favorite Pokemon.
It's Dragon Razet.
Dragon Razi.
I believe his name.
Zet?
I believe you pronounce his name Dragon Raz.
Roz.
It's Dragon Zet.
Roz? I get my clothes from there.
Okay, Nicholas is saying that Bashar the Butcher's favorite Pokemon would probably be Weezing.
Oof.
I know.
Sir, that's the evolved form.
Well, yeah, it's a Pokemon still, right? It's not a basic Pokemon. It's a stage 1, right? Exactly. Oh, by the way, that's right. There's basic Pokemon.
It's a generation 1, sir.
So technically speaking, Jinx is a basic bitch. So I know, right?
I love. There's gonna be an entire generation of people, of Zoomers, who are like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
What is Jinx? Jinx is when two people talk at the same time.
Noob. They don't even know Jinx.
Richard Nixon's asking, would you debate Dylan Burns on Israel Palestine? Sure, but that would be such a mess. That would be such a mess. I'm telling you, man, I don't know. I would debate it. Sure, I'll debate anything. It's just I don't know if he would want to debate on that because look, his positions, I'm not going to say like he doesn't sympathize with terrorists or anything, but his positions would aggrandize terrorists standing in the world if enacted. So when it comes to that. So.
Yeah, it's inadvertent. I guess
the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Like the same thing with Rwanda. So Bill Clinton didn't interfere in Rwanda because people could have died, and then 1 million people died. So there you go.
If there are any communists in the chat, I will agree with you and support you to own Kevin.
To own Kevils?
Well, at least you're upfront about that.
Is Ray Murasame in the chat?
You can tell if she's here if I do my little dance and call. Woo! Woo!
Wait, what animal was that? Is that supposed to be a hawk?
It's supposed to be a elephant.
Okay, I guess that makes sense.
It looks like Ray isn't here.
It looks like Ray isn't here.
Will have to leave because I have no supporters here either.
You have no supporters here?
You have nothing.
You have Kiwis?
I do not have Kiwis.
You do not have Kiwis?
No.
No?
Kiwis.
Kiwis?
I'm still waiting for communists to be in the chat.
I don't think they're coming.
Oh no.
What-oh.
What-oh? You've got to be kidding me.
Oh,
Where is Neocon Asuka?
Neocon Asuka read your essay?
I hope he read my essay.
I hope he sees this, bro.
He will think you are cringe and side with me.
He is cringe. He thinks you're cringe.
Wait until Dragon comes onto this stream. He will own you.
Dragon Raw Zed. Okay. So, like, I was irritated debating him. Everybody saw me debate him. No, capitalist neocon is the most insufferable, irritating person I've ever debated. I mean, it's not close. So,
you're right.
Ollie look normal. Even Ollie gets outside. Bro. Bruv?
No, he was terrible. You know, and that is an understatement if there ever was one. He was
I love this. I love this from Nicholas. Jeez, if this is how the conversation's going now, what was the debate like? You can go and watch it. Type in capital superpower broadcasting. It'll come up. He wanted to work with Hitler against the Soviets. And then when I pointed out that Hitler was actually a bigger threat than the Soviets and would be a bigger threat during the Cold War, he said, yes, and that's why I want to work with him. Now, he phrased it a little differently. He said that they had a better economy and better industrial power.
That's also a meme.
But then he said, if you did do a Cold War with the Soviets or a Cold War with the Nazis, which would you rather want to have win, the Nazis or the Soviets? And he said the Nazis. And I was just like, How about America? I asked him at one point in the debate, would you rather make in 1960 in a Cold War with Nazi Germany, assuming that you work with them and now they've got all the nukes, they've got the bombers, they've got Europe, and it's just America and Nazi Germany and fascist Japan in the world and Italy. And I'm like, okay, so you can choose between living in America and making $25,000 a year or living in Germany and making $70,000 a year. And I asked him, like, which would you rather do? Because he was just like, well, it's more about economics than social issues. You're just a libertine and all that kind of stuff. I asked him this. And I said, the reason why I ask you is because it's a pretty small difference, you know, in the scope of fascism. I didn't ask you about like 100 times more money in Nazi Germany or anything. I asked him about 2.7 times more money in Nazi Germany to live under Hitler versus 25,000 to live in the free world. And you know what? He said he'd have to think about it, basically. And I'm like, wait, because if somebody asked me 100 times, that's around the level when you're like me, you have to think about it. By the way, I'd still choose living in America and being poor, but at least you can see why somebody might want to think about it if they can make 25 million a year versus 25,000. But for him, the line is like, what, 50,000 a year versus 25,000? I don't know, man. It's pretty freaking goofy. He's like, well, what would my apartment be like? And all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, oh, well, it'd be better, but you have to live under the National Socialist German Workers' Party.
It's not worth it for any amount of money.
No.
Because even like, honestly, if you're in the upper echelon of society, that's I think that puts you, you're going to be in more risk of being purged at that point.
Yeah.
Hitler's going to know of you personally. It wouldn't even be worth it to be Hitler because you're under constant threat of your life being taken. And then you have the Allies breathing down your neck. So fuck that shit.
No, think about it. You having a more relaxing day in your life bumming around playing Fortnite in America, making $30,000 a year on your day off, than you do being Kim Jong-un, who has to worry about getting assassinated every day. So think about that.
No, I stand by that. And capitalist
and the thing is, you might say, what about Joe Biden? Does Joe Biden have to worry about being assassinated? Technically, yes, except he doesn't really have to worry about it being from his own country. Like, you think about it. If Kim Jong-un gets assassinated, there's a chance it could have come from the military. That's not going to happen with Joe Biden. Joe Biden doesn't have to worry about a coup from within. The biggest threat
about all that extra money?
That is more money. Who cares about sexual freedom? We care about money. Dude, it was so annoying. Capitalist Neocorn, did you watch Capitalist Neocon in that debate? It was cringe.
It was so cringe. I must have forgot about
of course he saw it. It's Capitalist Neocon we're talking about, right?
That's him. He was there. So yeah, I was just talking about you. This is cringe.
Yes, just like divorce.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God, you wanted a bad premarital sex. I can't get over how Ray Murasame got notifications from Capitalist Neocon liking her pro-communist stuff to own me. Funny meme, lame. So
I will side with communists, even though I'm against communists, and I'd side with Hitler. But Kevin, you are worse than Hitler.
I guess. I mean, I'm a liberal hawk, right? I want people to have freedom and be gay. This is gay.
He supports
power gay casting.
He supports dildos for Iran.
I support hashtag dildos for
that is so gay.
Iran.
Yeah, people. It was a painful conversation.
You wonder why the only likes he ever gets on his tweets are from himself, and the only likes he ever gives are to himself, unless it's Ray Murasame. And here's the thing that's funny about it: Ray Murasame, if she knew what he was about, would call him a fascist. So
She'd be right. Because he's very obviously a fascist sympathizer.
You hear that, Neil Korn? Called out?
Yeah, you're a fascist, man.
I am not a fascist.
He called you a fascist?
Only fascists do the "but Germany's economy though" meme.
Oh, I know.
Only
it's like my
fascist.
roads
That's the
meme.
best
Like
thing
you
that
see that
happened.
meme. That meme about, well, at least Hitler built the roads. He kept the trains running. He had the roads.
Kept the trains running. Oh,
Hitler
I
had
know,
the best
right? The
trains,
train.
the best everything.
cringe,
This is cringe.
bro.
Wait, Darth is here. He also knows Ray Murasami. He says it's funny. She doesn't care about jihadis in India using Chinese weapons. No. It's worse than that cognitive dissonance, because her whole Pan-Asian thing, obviously India and China is a big wrench in that. But if we're being real with her, and I haven't asked her about this, but I'm sure she might say India is different when she's talking about China. Maybe when she's talking about Asia, maybe she's talking specifically about East Asia, which was kind of what the original Pan-Asianists were kind of about. But even that included China and Korea and Japan. But it was obviously Japanese-centric. She still has a Japanese-centric worldview, but she also supports Communist China. And Communist China, worse than the Chinese weapons used by jihadis in India, worse than that, Communist China just threatened to nuke Japan. But let's have Pan-Asian unity. We're all Asian, right? So let's have unity, bro. They're on the potential brink of a nuclear war if anything happens with Taiwan. But she's like, no, but they both own the libs. That's what she said. So
They're both Asian.
They're both Asian and they both own the libs. And you know what's funny about that? Like, Japan isn't exactly like, despite all the alt-righters and all the fascists and stuff being obsessed with Japan still is a liberal capitalist system. So it's funny to me. It's like, yeah, they're more conservative than California, but they're also far more influenced by the United States than they used to be. So I don't know. It's funny. So
Total Reese Call asks what happened to my British accent.
I thought this was your British accent. You sound just like Christopher Hitchens, the American.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I forgot about that. What a dumb thought.
That was gold. Adam thought that Christopher Hitchens, he was shocked to find out the other day, or like a couple weeks ago, that Christopher Hitchens was British. He thought he was American. Like he's a Brit bonger. What? Because, like, of course, nobody ever would have heard of him if he was British. Like, how can he claim he was as well known as Britney Spears? Which, by the way, I stand by that. I absolutely stand by that. You ask the average person who's Britney Spears, and you ask the average person who's Christopher Hitchens, they'll know who those people are. They'll have heard of them before. So,
yeah, it's not. Oh, but he was British. It's not like he appeared on. It's not like he appeared on TV all the time in the 90s and early 2000s. You turn on the news, you had a chance to see
anybody ever heard of Prince Harry? I don't know. I heard he was British. I guess he's obscure. So,
to be fair, your critics were not born in the 90s and early 2000s.
Okay, but that just makes me not like a total zoomer. Okay, cool. So, I'm a boomer with zoomer characteristics. Anyway, we should finish up the infrastructure segment. So, yeah, child tax credits are cringe. The infrastructure bill, though, apart from that, is actually based. I don't know. I mean, you probably support more than 1.2 trillion on infrastructure too, right? Not capitalist neocon. Capitalist neocon would say that that's like what, like probably socialism. I don't know.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Before you guys go on, I must let myself out. I need to go write some more essays.
Oh, okay, right, about the Bill Dylan Burns show. Okay, cool. About the Hippy Dippy roundtable. Cool. I'll make sure to mark in my calendar not to read them tomorrow. Okay, cool.
Thanks for having me on. I will be crying into Ray Murasame's shoulder tonight. And goodbye.
Thank you for coming on. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. That was
what a lovely chap.
That was capitalist neocon.
That was the one and only.
The one and only. No, you can't make it up. By the way, you guys, you're absolutely going to have to watch the debate if you don't get the inside jokes. Every sentence fragment was phrased as a question to me. The entire debate for an hour and a half. It was the most grating garbage. And yes, I've watched a few minutes of his appearances on the fan club's channels. Oh. Unbelievably unbearable to listen to. He makes Asuka sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's how low T energy capitalist neocon is.
So you're telling me he makes, I was based in high school, sound like, Governor of California.
No, he makes, think about this. He makes Ali, the parrot dude, who's like, you lost to Dylan Burns. He makes him sound like Duke Nukem. I came here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble gum. He makes, think about this. He makes Dragon Raw Zed sound like Rambo.
Hello? Is anybody there?
That guy, he's going to take on an entire battalion of the Viet Cong by himself. Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, that was fun. I think we'll move on from there, though.
Yeah, for sure. So the last kind of moment that happened was about the Russians and people and the Chinese, and people are like, "No, that's conspiratorial." Even philosophy perspectives is like, "No, the Russians interfered." There's a debate still on the left. It's insane to me. There's a debate still on the left about whether or not Russia interfered in America's election, when it's true. Putin even admitted he supported Trump. We know that they hacked the voter rolls. It was a Republican outlet that initially brought that to light when they saw it happening, because they saw the Russians hack the DNC, and they figured that they were going to hack the Republicans next. So they whistleblowed about it or whatever, and it was just open intelligence. They thought that the Russians were also going to hack the Republicans. They didn't realize that, they were just trying to get Hillary Clinton and John Podesta's stuff. Now, my theory is the Russians also hacked the Republicans to get dirt in case they betrayed them or whatever. But they have a lot of dirt on Trump. They never had to use it, though, because he was a good boy. So.
Yeah, no. They didn't understand what you were saying in regards to Republicans dropping the ball on the no issue. It was a great opportunity for us as a culture to have a very legitimate grievance and trend against China, and for us to incentivize the international community to join up with us as well. And I think they really for whatever reason, and I think for the most part, it was motivated by this very bizarre and oftentimes not even fully followed commitment to small government. But, in times of crisis, in times of emergency, such ideals just need to go out the window. They're not helpful. You basically sound like a non-aggression principle believer at that point. And I think that's a damn shame. But we can't get into the no issue.
Yeah, we actually can't talk about the no issue. And imagine they get smart with their censors at YouTube, and they just immediately shut the stream down once you say no.
They said no.
Yeah. it's like a list of censored terms and no-nos out there, and it says it's like in a video game. We should wrap this up, though.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah. Otherwise, we're going to be longer than the Hippy Dippy show. We're already coming up on the runtime of the Hippy Dippy show. So.
No, you're not wrong. I think that overall, it was a good showing from you. And here's the thing: you can tell that they were spooked. You can tell that they felt the need to bring you down. One, because you lived rent free in the in the minds of people like Hans and whatever that philosophy guy's name was. I don't even remember.
Well, no, he was agreeing with me on some stuff, which was interesting. But
by the end, he had firmly established himself as an enemy.
Yeah.
And that happened with Sprouticus too. So that's what happens. That's a trend. That's a pattern I've noticed among these people. They will take time, especially in their final thoughts, to specifically name you. Like they could call out anybody on the panel on any issue that had been brought up.
Oh yeah, consider this. I was keeping track, by the way, just so we're clear here. I was keeping track of channel names, and Dylan Burns is a channel name. My channel was mentioned more often than like even Dylan Burns throughout. I didn't hear Dylan Burns' name come up so much. I heard Dylan, but if you type in Dylan into YouTube, you're not gonna find Dylan Burns yet. Though down the road it will autocorrect to Dylan Burns, because I think he is gonna have like 1 million and everything. But no, it was Superpower Broadcasting. That's what people said way more than Denims, way more than anybody else. So I hope people will subscribe, and even if they disagree with me, watch a few of my videos, and maybe I will get the machinery working in their heads to say, oh yeah, maybe he's got a point here about Afghanistan or something. So, because it's easy to dismiss somebody as a spook if you haven't actually listened to what they have to say in full. So
perhaps.
But yeah.
Perhaps they will subscribe. So it was a good showing on your part, and by the end they were real desperate to shut you up and real desperate to defame you as someone who supported gunning down the poor. And they'll say, oh, that was a joke. I don't buy that. I really don't. I'm not convinced by that. I don't think that's compelling. And even if it was, there's an obvious implication behind it. Because now you're smeared with that, and now what do you have to do? You have to come from the perspective of saying, no, I don't want to do that. And then when you piped up and you were trying to defend yourself, they were saying, what? So you do want to do that? And it's like,
I know, that was so lame. That was uber lame there. But it was almost over. Like, we didn't really have that much time.
By the end, they were desperate. Here's the thing. I'll tell you why. Here's my theory. The reason why they're desperate to defame you and say ridiculous things like that is because you offer an actual alternative to anything they're saying. I think a lot of these guys, they realize, well, they think that they're right, but they understand that the market is completely saturated with people like them. And you talked about this in your stream last night. Dime a dozen commentators who all believe the same thing.
The cliches. It's like, guys, subscribe to me. I'm anti-war. It's like, oh, okay, I'll subscribe to you. Just like I've subscribed to 1,842 other channels today that are anti-war. Noted. Let's hear your perspective. Let's see what you have to say. Okay.
It's like, why? You don't bring anything new to the table.
Like, yeah, because
I could just go subscribe to somebody else.
I could subscribe to Kyle if I wanted anti-war content. So,
and Kyle makes faces. What do you do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Hans works out, so there's that. Kyle doesn't not work out. So
he had a bit of an energy to him. I'll give him that. But he was
hyped. He was hyped. He was the most high energy person there, actually, because even me, I'm like, I know it's going to be like an 8-hour stream day, right? Which I guess a lot of Twitch streamers are used to. I don't normally stream 8 hours a day. I normally stream like an hour and a half a day and do a video. But
It was a special day.
Special day,
you know. He had an energy, kind of a goober energy, but an energy.
Yeah, well, that's kind of like Haas. Haas has energy. It's like, hey man, you gotta give it to him. He has energy. It's like, but of course, the logical conclusion of that is, who had a lot of energy when he would give speeches and stuff, right? It was Hitler. So Hitler had a lot of energy.
No one's gonna appreciate that comparison.
I'm not comparing those guys. Well, that's not true. I'm not comparing Hans to Hitler. I am comparing Haas to Hitler. Haas would be like, well, yeah, he was pretty cool. I just wish he was a communist instead. That's what he would say. Because he's a Stalinist. So.
You're right.
No, but think about it. Hitler had energy. You gotta give him that. I mean, have you seen when he got banned from Call of Duty on YouTube? He lost it in that bunker, dude. He lost it. Like, sure, there's a couple moments of silence there, but then after everybody besides the top brass has to leave, he unloads, bro. Like, that dude had energy, man. So.
Oh man. So there's that. That's my theory. And
he also has subs too. He has like 2,000 or something. So
why they seem so desperate at the end to portray you as having positions that you obviously don't hold and would be ridiculous.
Fuck you. Stupid bitch.
What the fuck?
Shut the fuck up, you stupid bitch.
I love that he interrupted you right as you're talking immediately. Okay, so speaking of energy, okay, we've got another one of the whippersnappers here.
Whippersnappers.
Just
Go
call
ahead,
one of us.
Me.
Excuse me?
Introduce me, you big-eared fuck.
The Valley Girls here. Shit. It's over.
You talk all that smack on Twitter. Now you're quiet because you're scared of me.
Wait a minute. All that smack. You don't see my tweets. My tweets are private.
Yes, I do.
Oh, interesting. We seem to have a flaw with our security.
Okay. Who invited you here?
Excuse me, bitch. I have people.
Oh yeah, you can play this game, bitch.
You can't talk to me like that. That's very rude.
No, I just did. I just owned you epic style.
No,
I just owned you epic style.
No, you don't get to do this. This is outrageous. I am canceling you. You're canceled.
I'm canceled, Castly. Except you can't cancel.
Castly.
Can't cancel Castly.
Cancel Castly.
Can't cancel Castly. You just got owned epic style.
I don't know, man.
No.
It sounds like he canceled you. I heard it from his own mouth.
Not here to make friends. The dude comes in and immediately he's calling my co-host a bitch.
He is a bitch. He deserves to get bullied.
Dude,
what about
you spent all of your middle school in a locker and high school. Like you were based in a locker in high school. Yeah, you were based in a locker.
That was
like you were literally rooted to a locker.
I had the big locker, so it was pretty big. Freaking big.
Yeah, I guess you're pretty short, so I guess it's probably spacious.
So what are you guys talking about?
I don't think we were talking about you. We were talking about, well, yeah, that's right. We were talking about Hans. We were talking about philosophy perspective. We were talking about
those people that are better than you.
Oh, better than me. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Did you watch the panel? Did you watch the Hippy Dippy show, or were you too busy?
No.
Owned.
I guess I got owned epic style. He laughed. I guess I got owned epic style. I guess this is the part where like you go like you like try to own me epic style, right?
There's like 5 other guests waiting in the lobby. Why don't you let them in?
Yeah, sure. Why don't you leave?
No, this is my show now. You have to leave.
Except I could literally just kick you. So it's kind of my show, dog.
Oh my god. Kick me then. You stupid bitch. You're freaking bitch.
Well, he said it.
Epic style. Okay. So that just happened.
Ladies and gentlemen, Neo Kanazuka.
Yeah. I don't know. What do we think? Based in high school? What do you think? He didn't really give off those vibes, but
yeah, I'm gonna press X to doubt on that. Even if it were true,
you know what's funny? You know what's funny? That if they do a reaction stream to this, they're gonna be like, somebody needs to tell those guys he wasn't actually talking to Neo Konosuke. I talked with him. I asked him. That wasn't actually him. They mentioned they do that on a stream reacting to us. Like, imagine one of them even asked on stream, Neo Konosuke, is he's there? And he'd just be like, what? No, of course that wasn't me. And then say like a word that we can't say right now. Yeah, I know. Unbelievable.
The fan club is deteriorating at a rate that is unimaginable.
Oh, no phone calls tonight. Well, I mean, funny enough, they haven't called, but the base department did call. The base department called.
Maybe if the base department calls, it wards off cringe calls.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. It's like you try calling and it says, caller has received call from base department within the last 24 hours. Please try again. And like you have to not only have somebody's phone number, you also have to be base to call them. So anyway, we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to go and have dinner. So any final thoughts on the Hippy Dippy Roundtable and 1,000 videos for Superpower Broadcasting, the home of the Hawks?
We'll try to get some final thoughts in. We've been interrupted so many times, so rudely by cringe mongers. But
no. He was based in high school. He was based in high school.
Even if that were true, that is hardly an achievement. But whatever.
Yeah, can you imagine being 35 and being on a date and saying, "No, I was based in high school." You're 35, Asuka. By the way, you know who else is going to be 35? Gold Gang Rising pretty soon.
That's true. So we will have, become the meme at that point.
Yeah, we'll be like reacting to Kyle, but like we're Kyle. We're also 35. So
we'll drop that line a lot, especially on episode 35.
Yeah, you know what that is though. That's that saying, right? If you gaze long enough into the abyss stares back into you. You do enough Kyle videos, eventually you become 35. So,
oh man, maybe we should stop.
Yeah, imagine we just stop at 34 and people are like, why'd they stop at 34? And it's like,
we didn't want to become 35.
We didn't want to become 35. We didn't want to become Kyle. It's like, what happens at 35?
Hey, that's as good of a reason for doing anything that I've ever heard.
That's true.
I'll say this. It was a good showing for you on the panel. I think that you presented yourself really well. You got yourself into the thick of it. I hope that you get a good amount of subscribers out of that. And I think that they'll probably have you back sooner or later. I think at this point they're just going to consider having you be a regular, basically.
Oh man, he's getting messages though, like, you can't platform this guy, so we'll see what happens if he can.
Yeah, I wonder if anybody else gets messages. I wonder if CTV gets messages like that. Like, oh, you can't platform CTV.
No. He gets no. Dylan almost certainly. I mean, a lot of the comments on YouTube on the Hippy Dippy where you can actually comment afterwards. A lot of people are like, never have him on again. He adds nothing to the conversation. All he is he just yells into his mic and doesn't listen to anybody. That's what you get on CTV. You know what they get on me? No. He's for regime change wars. He's a liberal imperialist. Yeah.
But it totally defeats the purpose of a panel if you're just going to have people on who you agree with. Well,
and I think Dylan gets it. But come on, he's definitely been under some pressure. He wouldn't mention it on stream, if it wasn't a thing. And speaking of something that he mentioned on stream, this was the last part that I wanted to get to. Fuck Mike from PA, because think about it, Dylan Burns is not a hawk on Afghanistan. He's just simply said that there should have been a more responsible withdrawal. And what did Mike from PA say? Mike from PA said that your former boss Mike Gravel, because he used to campaign for Mike Gravel, would be like ashamed of you and all this kind of stuff and everything right after Mike Gravel died. And it's like, oh, I mean, look, I'm not a progressive. I'm not a liberal internationalist or anything, but that was a low blow from Mike from PA to defend the Taliban and defend leaving Afghanistan as soon as possible. I mean, consider this. Mike from PA is such a little shit. He makes people there look like hawks in comparison. He makes Dylan Burns look like a hawk. That's Mike from PA. And I think it's funny to me, a lot of people in BreadTube and stuff now are done with him. Like, because he's such a shit disturber. So that was amazing, honestly. It's like, because to us with our community and everything, we think of like Dylan Burns as like pretty on the non-intervention side of things. But to Mike from PA, he's basically a neocon. It's crazy.
Rob Noor basically called him a neocon too.
That's right. Rob Noor thought of him as a neocon. He's like, no, I'm not saying you're conservative. I'm just saying, like, you're admitting
you
you're
support for interventions, man.
Yeah, he supported keeping.
Not even really.
No, he supported keeping some troops in northeastern Syria. 300.
Yeah, that's some real muscular foreign policy right there.
No,
man.
but then Rob Noor would be like, yeah, it is muscular. I want to have no pounds on the dumbbells. I want no muscle. Because Rob Noor has no muscles. Dylan Burns has some muscles. So,
man,
and I don't know. Dylan was talking about how, like, well, no, it's interesting to see like neocons and stuff support. Or to see me support this thing with the Kurds in northeastern Syria because it's like a socialist project or whatever and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, Abdullah Öcalan is like a communist. There are communists in Rojava. There are a lot of socialists in Rojava. I got news. Socialist Kurds are better allies to the United States than fascist Assadists. So, and also Kurdistan is a little bit different because they're not the same type of socialism. Funny thing is, they're actually one of those places where you could actually do the meme where they could have kind of a left-wing democracy actually work. I'm not saying they'd be democratic socialist or anything, but Kurdistan could survive with American assistance. Kurdistan's always been like a loyal American partner too. Like, I don't like this idea that you can only work with right-wing partners or something. It's like you can work with left-wing partners, you can work with right-wing partners, and the Kurds are also pretty good on the whole. They're not really that Stalinistic or anything in their brand. So I don't know. I would support northeastern Syria being its own state. So.
Oh yeah, and even just for a pragmatic reason, because what it means is less territory under the control of Bashar the Butcher, the better.
Yes. Well, and they have female soldiers too. Like, they are an actually pretty egalitarian society in the scheme of things. So they are pretty based, like, objectively. So
now we should support them.
And I think with American support militarily, they'll reform their economics to be more of a social democracy like Europe over time.
It is interesting that you bring up almost that epiphany moment for Dylan Burns, because that reminds me of a speech that I shared to Twitter recently from Christopher Hitchens. Yeah, the guy that apparently nobody's heard of.
No. People have heard of him. He's American, right?
Yeah, the American thinker and analyst, Christopher Hitchens.
Yeah, because he was born in Boston, right? That's why he's got like that Boston accent, right? So.
Yeah. Very thick, you can barely understand the guy, but once you actually parse through the accent, he's got some words of wisdom.
Yeah, he tells you, "Hey man, I lost my khakis," and you're thinking like, oh, "Wait, but you're wearing your pants," and he's like, "No, my khakis," and you're like, "Oh, well, you better call the cops. How much did you spend on it?" He's like $30,000. So.
bro. Anyway, I shared this speech.
You lost your car, man.
This was Hitchens talking about Bosnia. So it was quite a while ago.
Bosnia.
So it was in the 90s at some point, like mid 90s, and he's talking about that, and he's talking about how this was a landmark moment for him, because obviously he was coming from a Marxist tradition. He always talks about his comrades, but he said he found it surprising that he had a lot of agreement with the neoconservatives on an issue like Bosnia, and he said, well, this is truly a humanitarian interest. There's no oil. There's nothing else that could possibly be a motivation for wanting to be involved here other than humanitarian reasons and wanting to prevent genocide.
No, there's minerals.
And genocide against Muslims, no less. So he's talking about that. And I think that a lot of people are going to understand that now. That despite the fact that all the memes out there, all the things that people would try to slander us with, people would say, well, you're anti-theistic. How can you care about religious people in a predominantly religious society? They'll say, well, you're white. How can you care about these people who are not white? Oh, you think that you're doing this for feminism, but you're allied with Saudi Arabia, man.
What about Saudi though? Kyle did the meme. He did what about Saudi today?
I think that a lot of people who are of a bit higher intelligence are going to see through memes like that, and they're going to understand that those are not satisfactory rebuttals to concerns that people are bringing up about what's happening in Afghanistan. Because what's happening there is unconscionable. You can't just do the same tired memes and expect to get people to be on board with you and to escape all moral culpability at this point.
It's so bad that even Bastia came out and was like, I'm incredibly disappointed in Biden, and he's a neoliberal diplomacy, bro.
Everybody, that's the very least you can do. You should be disappointed in what he's done.
We had a guy
it was obviously the wrong move, and we've talked about how we've been vindicated, but we take no pleasure in this vindication.
Oh, no. Understand something. They're going to string up a lot of government workers, a lot of truck drivers that help the Americans, a lot of translators, people that America, if you're going to surrender, the least thing that you can do is have a contingency already planned in case that ever happened. Like, look, I'm a hawk. You can be damn sure if I'm going into Afghanistan again, or if I'm going into a conflict zone somewhere, even I'm going to tell my people to draft up a contingency if we have to surrender eventually. How do we get our allies out that helped us? But for 20 years, there was nothing. There was nothing planned. Nothing by the Australians, nothing. And a lot of these people are shit scared right now. And the process to get them out has been a mess because the Taliban's taking back the country so quickly. No, a lot of those people are going to be rounded up, taken to soccer fields, strung up to poles and shot and have it live streamed. And we'll see those live streams because the Taliban, just like a lot of these groups, just like ISIS, they upload that stuff. And people are going to share this around. And you're going to have people finally come to terms with what we've been warning people about as long as I've been doing this channel. And what are some people going to say? Some people are going to say, oh, well, Trump started it. But people are going to, even neoliberals are going to ratio these people because neoliberals, the problem with them is like they don't get how the real world works. Once you show them the real world and they can't deny it, they have to say that that's bad and come to terms with that. So even they're going to be dunking on those people now. So our side is coming around. Like this is actually going to happen pretty quick. And I really think, within the next 5 or 6 years, we're going to get to a point where I'll be able to say we're not actually in the era of cringe anymore, where both parties have a fairly consistently anti-Taliban and anti-China approach and anti-Russia approach, because things are happening right now that are going to wake people up. And as Trump goes away, as people wake up to Russian disinformation and everything, I think that people are going to come around to it. It might take longer than that. what I think is definitely the reason why I say it's going to be 5 or 6 years is because I think the next 9/11 is going to happen in that time. And that'll speed things up a lot. Like once a few thousand Americans more are dead in one event, that's going to be top news. Everybody's going to be talking about it. If you're on Twitter and the weeks that follow that defending it or saying how it's not our business, even most people that don't care about foreign policy are going to be ratioing you. So, and thereby vindicating us. So, and we'll be on the record as the only people that were talking about this. So,
so let it be known that we were the canaries in the coal mine, and we've been talking about these kinds of things for a long time. And it didn't, the biggest takeaway is it didn't need to be like that. It didn't, to shake people out of apathy.
Yeah.
I would have hoped for it to be a lot less painful.
That's why it's called the era of cringe, because it takes something as horrible as 9/11 for people to snap out of it. So that's pretty cringe, bro.
No, that's horrendous. That's absolutely horrendous.
But it's true. It's totally true. Like, that's what's going to mug most people by reality. Like I say, well, isn't that what hawk pilled me? Yes, but I was 7 years old. That's what's going to hawk pill 35-year-olds for the first time. Think about that. That's embarrassing.
Like, whoa, man.
Like, imagine being 25 or older and not being hawkish. That's, wow. You're a man-child, basically. You're not living in the real world.
Well, because at that point, you would have been around for 9/11. Like, you would have been a kid.
Yeah.
But like it happened. It already happened. So you should know. And it should have drastically changed your worldview, but apparently not. Apparently something else needs to happen in order to shake people out of apathy. And listening to that, there's going to be people saying, well, yeah, this is actually proof, man, that it was an inside job. See, they just wanted to manufacture consent, man.
Okay, well, if it's proof, where's the leak? Like, think about how many leaks there were just from Trump and Obama. I thought Bush was an idiot. How did he keep it all under wraps? That would have had thousands of people he would have had to pay off not to talk. I mean, so Bush is either the smartest person in the world who did that, or he's a dummy. And they'd be like, well, no, he's both. We're going to make fun of him for being a dummy, but we're also going to say he's the biggest mastermind ever. They do both. They do both. You ever hear the people who say like it was an inside job? They also talk about Bush as if he was like a dumbass. It's like, well, you can't have it both ways. He either has to be one of the smartest people ever lived to pull that off and still have it under wraps, or it's just funny to me. By the way, the actual answer, and this is the pill that I don't think a lot of people actually realize, it's neither. He didn't do 9/11, and he's also not a dumbass. He's actually a pretty intelligent person. He just misspeaks. That happens to people all the time. By the way, there are tens of thousands of hours of footage of him talking. So the longer you talk, the higher the chances that you'll have some blunders now and then. I think somebody said tonight, I said, what was it in the chat? Something like about police. It was like lease or something, I think I said. I don't know. Because I probably said like 10,000 words all together tonight.
It might have just been the connection. I don't quite remember how it sounded.
Oh, yeah, and they say that about Hillary Clinton, too. Now, with Hillary Clinton, you don't really hear them say that she's an idiot. Normally, it's like she's the mastermind with them. So that's a little bit more of a consistent, conspiracy, but still. Unbelievable. Anyway, we got to wrap this up. So.
It's lame either way.
Yeah, it's totally lame. So, be sure to follow Spooky Nukies on YouTube at Spooky Nukies. You can request to follow him on Twitter at Spooky Nukies. You can follow me on Twitter at Kevin Castley. And you can also subscribe here for daily content and regular debates. And I'll probably be on Politically Provoked tomorrow night. And we're doing Gold Gang Rising tomorrow night as well. So we got a lot of stuff, a lot of memes, a lot of streams, and
a lot of dreams.
Videos. Yeah, no, for sure. And we're at 1,000 videos now. So yeah, hopefully the next 1,000 will be even higher energy. So thanks for sticking with us. Keep on rocking in the free world. Oh, and if you want to support what I do, check me out over on Ko-Fi, PayPal, and Patreon. The links are in the description below. And hit that subscribe button. Have a good night, everybody.